Our first speaker, we have a former member of Parliament and Cabinet Minister, a Bahamian economic consultant, an author, and entrepreneur that's going to present to us this morning. So let's welcome Mr. Zhivargo Laing.
Good morning.
Morning.
I tell you, there's two things that happened today that made it impossible for me not to be here. Two things. First of all, they called me from something having to do with Miss Bodie. Once they see Miss Bodie, I got to do it. You know? So they called me and that was almost automatic. And then secondly, they said, oh, this was something to do with teachers. Oh, God. My wife is a teacher.
Wow.
I'm indebted to teachers. So I always tell people, teachers don't even have to ask me twice for nothing. I'm coming. Because all that I am today, I place an abundance of that on the work of teachers. So I want to thank you on behalf of your students and many students into whose lives you pour. Now they tell me you are math teachers. Yes. You all are special. Very rare. Apparently a great undersupply in the world, but special. And I have a special affection for people teaching math. My son, who is now 10, who was at the time 9 years old, was struggling enormously in math. I mean, I'm not talking about failing in math like, you know, when you getting C minuses. He was failing E. And, I don't like that because I believe math is the pathway to good calculation, and good calculation is the pathway to good logistics, and good logistics is the way to reason. And I need people in this world to be reasoning, you know. And so my wife and I, they live in Jacksonville for the time now. Decided to do something about that. I don't know if you ever heard of this program, Mathnasium.
Yeah.
Listen to me. That boy was going to that program for 3 months. And in 3 months' time went from failing in math to getting math awards in school.
Wow.
Okay? 3 months. When he went, they sent us all this diagnostics on his abilities, what they evaluated as the weaknesses, etc., and then they worked on it. Apparently, every single person who works for Mathnasium is an engineer.
Wow.
And they have concluded that engineers know how to fix problems by breaking things down and building it back up. And it works. It worked for him. So I don't know, maybe you'll start a Mathnasium franchise here in the Bahamas and do something with all these failing math teachers, students, right? That's just a freebie. So I'm asked to speak to you today about the World Trade Organization. I thought this would have died down a little bit, but it's always interesting topic. And guess what? I couldn't imagine a better time for you to be talking about international trade and the World Trade Organization than right now in the present moment. And the reason for that is you are getting an opportunity to see in real time many things that I have been trying to say to the world, the Bahamas, about trade. Mr. Donald Trump, President of the United States of America, decided, I don't like how China is getting away with selling us more stuff than we sell them. That's his calculation. So he looks at what they call a trade account deficit, and he says that they are losing on that deficit. And then he decided, I'm going to do something about this. So he puts a tariff, what we call a custom duty, on China's goods coming into the United States of America. The leader of the Senate, who was a Republican then, the leader of the Congress, who was a Republican then, most Republicans, most farmers, etc., said to him, Mr. President, don't do this. Do not do this. It will hurt us. They said, well, why? Because when you put a tariff on their goods coming into our country, it's us buying the stuff and us who will pay the duty. It will make it more expensive for us. And it's steel. It goes into everything. So once that's more expensive, all the things that you make from it will be more expensive. Don't do this. He says, yes, but we will collect more money. They said, yes, but you will collect it from us. We're paying the taxes. So he didn't listen. So the Chinese said, I'm not going to let you do that to me because I buy stuff from you too. So the Chinese went ahead and they did the same thing. They put taxes on American goods too. So yes, the Chinese will do the same thing and pay the same money, but guess what's the difference? Americans pay their taxes. The Chinese government pay theirs. So who you think will last longer? The Chinese, but they don't, so no problem. So they're at it. Do you know what you are staring at now? Forget China and America. You are staring at right now almost every economist saying the world is going into a global recession. I tried to say that to people for long. No one wins a trade war. No one does. No one. It's impossible to win a trade war. Just like it's impossible to have a war without casualties. A military war, many people die. Places get destroyed. In a trade war, the economy is the casualty. And your pocketbooks will be the victims. How do you prevent trade wars? Well, prior to World War II, what you see Donald Trump and Xi Jinping, I think is his name, what you see them doing is exactly what was happening prior to World War II. Countries were acting the very same way. Every man doing whatever he felt to say, I'm going to spite you by putting tariffs on your stuff. I'm going to stop you from bringing stuff into my country. That's what was happening. The world economy was being suppressed. Tensions in the world were high. So it made even military tensions more exasperated, and they believe contributed to World War II. So after World War II, the developed countries of the world decided, we don't want to walk that path again. Let's not do that. So what did they decide amongst themselves? Let's agree how we will buy and sell from each other and how we will prevent each other from producing these kinds of barriers to trade and that kind of stuff. And so they created what was called the General Agreement on Tariff and Trade, GATT. What it said essentially is, we will not prevent each other from selling goods and services to each other, goods to each other. So there'll be no such thing as a ban. What's a ban? It's an official restriction on the import of any item from another country. They also said what we will not do is set up quotas against each other, meaning that there'll be no official restriction on the number of items you can bring into a country. They also said, we won't stop you from charging a tariff. That's your right. You have the right to raise your revenue. We won't stop you from charging custom duties. But what we will agree is a cap on those duties. Now let me explain it this way. Imagine if the government of the Bahamas told you that we pledge to the world we will never raise tariffs on anything higher than 5%.
Ooh.
Hallelujah. See, she was ready to go shake. But that's what the GATT said. They have a schedule and they've agreed. I will not charge more than this on tissue. You can go anywhere from 0 up to that, but you can't go above that. So that's what they agreed. You can charge your tariff. You can't go above that. They also agreed we weren't going to do things like set up artificial requirements for people to import things. You know, some people get sophisticated and say, okay, I ain't gonna stop you from bringing it in, but if you want to bring that dress in, it has to have 30,000 stitches per inch.
Yeah.
Now, you and I both know 30,000 stitches an inch. 1 is a really sophisticated dress, and 2, it'd be very expensive. So ain't nobody can buy that. So they agreed they won't do those things. Those 4 things, that's it. That's what these trade agreements you see, that's what it's about. And so over time, they then decided, you know what? a university professor, as a matter of fact, decided, listen, if you're gonna have a trade agreement, and the world is becoming more and more expansive and sophisticated, you need an organization to oversee it, so that you can know when somebody is breaching, you can do something when somebody's breached it, you can have a means of having regular opportunities to negotiate, and so forth. So the guy said, why don't you set up a World Trade Organization? And that's what they set up in 1995. So contrary to popular belief, the World Trade Organization isn't some organization that came from outer space with the right to demand how people run their trade. Absolute nonsense. It exists for one reason. The countries of the world that are part of the World Trade Organization set it up to be able to oversee the trade agreement they signed on to. That's it. The only people that are obligated to be a part of the World Trade Organization are the ones that agreed to sign on to these trade agreements. I sometimes listen to people go, oh, but they can make you do this or they can make you do that. That's like saying the bank and you sign a mortgage agreement and the bank is making you pay your mortgage. Seriously, dude? No. You went to the bank, said, I want to build a house, and the bank said to do that, to get my $150,000, $200,000, you will have to pay me X amount a month for the next 20 years at X interest rate, and if you don't pay it, this is going to happen, that's going to happen, and that's going to happen. When you miss those payments and the bank comes and says it's time for us to foreclose on the house, how dare you say they taking my house away? How evil and wicked they are. You ain't see your signature on that agreement? That's how it works. Adult people signing agreements. So you don't join the WTO because anybody forces you. You just simply join. And there are terms. And the terms say, don't charge any bonds, don't have any quotas. If you have a duty, give me a schedule as to how you're going to cap the duties, and don't have any technical barriers to trade. And it says, if you're going to be a member of this group, and if you think this is wrong, you let me know. If you're going to be a member of this group, getting the benefits and the privileges of it, don't treat one member one way and another member another way. How do you do that? Oh, the United States close to us, so I'm going to let their cream in. Canada is far from us, so I'm not going to let their cream in. First of all, how is any of their cream getting here? Because a Bahamian ordered it.
Yeah.
I ordered Canada cream, and the government telling me I can't get it. So they say don't do that. And then they say, well, if you're going to do that, you have to have scheduled before you join an exception to that particular thing, because you might have a reason. It may be that some serious medical deficiency has been detected in Canada that made you decide that that's against my interest, or it might be a national security. So you can schedule any exception, but as a general rule, don't do it. The other thing it says is that, well, you know, if you let a person's product into your country or service into your country, if you let it in, don't treat it differently than the same product or service that you produce. Let me give you an example. Zephyrhills water is brought into the country by stores. Now, how does Zephyrhill water get into the country?
Somebody ordered.
Bahamians ordered it. And then Aquapure water is in the country too. Don't take Aquapure water and charge it a 12% VAT and then charge the Zephyrhills a 30% VAT. They don't do that. That's unfair. It's not only unfair to the person who's selling the Zephyrhills water, it's unfair to you because you wanted the Zephyrhills water and they charging you just because you won't buy the Aquapure water. I mean, yes, I love the Bahamas, but I thought I was living in a free society. So those are the rules, basic rules. And in 1995, they created an organization to oversee those rules, the World Trade Organization. It does not command any country to do anything with respect to trade. If a rule is made, here is how it's made. So there's the agreement, that's the existing rules. If they want new rules, all of the countries, the ministers of trade from each country, they get together at meetings they have every 2 years, and they agree a rule. Guess what is true? 164 countries now are members of the WTO. If 163 of them, the United States, Germany, Canada, all of them agree, and Haiti say no, no rule. You ain't hear me.
Yeah.
There is nowhere else in the international community where that happens. Nowhere else. In the United Nations, everybody could vote, but the Security Council could veto that vote. In the World Trade Organization, nothing is agreed until all are agreed. So I laugh when I hear people talk about, oh, you don't have the power, you don't. Everybody in that organization could vote for the Bahamas to get in to the WTO. Haiti could say no. And you would not get in there. All the world could vote on this particular trade issue. And you are in, and you could say no. But guess what? You decided you don't want to be at the table. So they're making rules that affecting you every day, but you ain't there. Because you say, you know, you want to stay out. Let me tell you where you are as out. So, this is the globe. See? This is the half of the globe. This is the western half of the globe. This is the eastern half of the globe. You are in the western half of the globe, where the United States, Canada, Germany, all them are. Of all of these on the western side are in the WTO, you're the only one out. Haiti is in, Cuba is in, Trinidad is in, Jamaica is in, every single body is in. Let me tell you, on the eastern side of the globe, let me tell you the company you're keeping. You are not with China. You are not with Japan. You are with Azerbaijan. You are with Iraq. You are with Belarus. There is no other grouping on this planet you would be in like you are in the grouping with those who are outside the WTO. The countries that are members of the WTO control 99% of world trade. 98% of world trade. So you cannot help, you, the Bahamas, because you don't make much. You buy everything, mostly you use. You cannot help but run into a WTO country. Remember I said that there are about 20-something countries on this side who are not in the WTO? 24 or so. Guess what? Like you, 21 of them are trying to join. But you should stay up because, you know, you're unique, special. You ever ask yourself this question? Why are we so prosperous as a country, generally speaking? Have you? Let me give you the answer. A long time ago, you decided on a number of things. You decided that we're a small country, we undeveloped, and if we're going to develop, we don't have no real money for ourselves. This was in the 40s, 50s. We don't really have no money. So we need some help. We need international capital, international investors to come in here and do some stuff. So we need a foreign money to come in here. So we're going to open ourselves up to foreign money. And you did. And guess what? They did come. Especially in the hotel and tourism, financial services sector. Oh, they came, they brought tons of money. And guess who they paid it to? Lots of it. To you. Payments. Made you made you one of the few countries in the world with a very thick middle class. You pocketed all that foreign money you made. I know they paid you in Bahamian dollars, but it was foreign money first. They had to put it in the bank, and then the bank gave you the Bahamian dollars. And so you had lots of money, made lots of money off these foreign people, and guess what you did with your foreign money? Went and bought foreign things? Yeah, look at you now. Let me see your Bahamian shirt, clothes, sweater. Look at your Bahamian chairs. Look at your houses, foreign stuff. Look at your cars. You bought a lot of. You went to Walmart and them, you had a ball. Kmart and J.C. Penney, you went and had a ball. Send your children to where? Foreign schools. Only a couple of them going to UB, COB then. Yes, you bought a lot of foreign stuff with your foreign money. Right? And you became very prosperous, highly developed. You looked like the foreign people you were buying from with their foreign money. And your government decided, wait, this is working out so well, I'm going to take your dollar and I'm going to peg it to a foreign dollar so that you could keep buying your foreign stuff. And guess what? Every time you did that, just like Donald Trump's economy, your current account deficit continued to swell. You continued to buy more from people than you sold to people. And nobody said, oh, stop this. We are losing the war. No. Why? Why didn't you say that? Because you were doing something else. You were getting so much foreign money come in, you could use that foreign money to pay for your foreign stuff. And your deficit, your overall circumstances was okay. And look at you now. That's the formula that worked for you. And you know what you were saying to us today? You are telling me, an economist you trained, I want to stop that. I don't want to do that no more. I want to find another formula. I don't want no free trade no more. I don't want international trade. I don't want any rules. And I'm telling you, you are making a mistake. It will not work. It may not happen tomorrow, day after tomorrow. But your children will feel it if you don't. You're making a mistake. The truth of the matter is, you're a small economy. You don't save much of what you earn, period. The only way to grow your economy is with your savings. If you therefore don't save, and then can't grow your economy from your own savings, you have to use the savings of other people. If you're smart, you will let them come. I'll qualify that in a minute. You let them come as you did before, but you'll do something you didn't do before. More of you will actually save some of what you earn from them so that you can put yourself in a position in the future to do more for yourself. If the Bahamas did not join the World Trade Organization in 1995 when it was started. We were the only Caribbean country that did not. Now, to join, you have to negotiate your way in with all the members. Everybody has to agree for you to get in now, and you got to negotiate your way in. Negotiate what? Well, they look at your economy and they go, well, that's not in keeping with the rules. This is not in keeping with the rules. So you have to make adjustments. Now, can you do it now, or do you need some time to do it? That's the negotiations. Let's look at what the adjustments are you have to make. Do you have bans in the Bahamas on stuff coming into the country?
Yes.
You do? Okay, let's think about it. Because I always tell people this is the easy way to think about it. Let's go shopping at Walmart. Let's go look at all them thousands of items at Walmart and tell me when you find an item that the government say you can't bring in. Which one of the items? Is it Kraft dinner? Is it Mahama rice? Let's go in the hardware section. Is it lawnmowers? What TV? What can you not bring in because the government say you can't bring it when you go shopping at Walmart, Home Depot, Home Good, J.C. Penney, Sears, etc. You don't have a list to save your life. Even guns is not banned in the Bahamas. It's on a restricted list. You don't. You don't have any bans. What about quotas? Let's go back to Walmart. Let me see. I can only buy 3 Kraft dinner because the government says you can only bring in 3.
No.
And I can only bring in so many of these Welch's grape juice. What do they restrict you from doing? Nothing. You're right. Exactly. There's some farm goods, depending on the season, where they may have some restrictions. There are some. But generally speaking, don't affect you at all. What about restrictions on technical barriers, like you can't bring it in because the government say you have to bring in this kind and that kind? Let's go back to Walmart and Home Depot. Which one of them you'd be standing there going, well, you can't bring that in because that don't meet the government spec? Huh? Anybody ever did that while you were shopping abroad? Of course not, because it doesn't exist. Now, let's go back to Walmart. But you know, I could only carry in so much of them because you got to pay duty. Everybody know that one, right? That's your biggest barrier to trade. Bar none. Biggest. That's the reason the government stayed out in 1995. It makes most of its monies from that. It wasn't going to create no value-added tax or income taxes back then because it didn't want to kill its financial services sector. So it said, you know, because them people would break off running from Utah with income tax and some kind of stuff, they'd be breaking off running right, Ms. Bodie, back in the day. They ain't like that no more. Nowadays, they want you to do income taxes because now you're a pariah if you don't charge taxes in the financial services sector. So you don't have any of those. You have duties. That's your biggest problem. That's the real reason why you stayed out, and that's the biggest issue today. But guess what is true? I mean, I want you to listen to this, right? The WTO wants to lower duties. You trying to stop paying duties, but you're trying to stay out the WTO. Some of y'all missed that altogether. You're math teachers, and you missed that altogether. The WTO is about lowering duties. You tell a customs man, even though you spent $1,000, you only spent $500, you want your exemption because you don't want to pay the duty, but you want to stay out the WTO. When you and them have the same aim. Let me tell you what is true. Joining the WTO will bring you benefits. There's no question. There are benefits in the form of lower duties for yourselves. On average, the duties you pay will go from 35% to 15% on average. Anybody can use that? It will free up the capital of your businesses because business people right now, before they sell a single item, have to pay that duty up front to the government. Imagine that. If that duty is lowered, they will not have to pay that capital. They can use that otherwise. It will make your economy generally more attractive, and therefore you will get some investment inflows because of it, and that will inure to your benefit as a growth. It will provide you with more modern legislative regime in terms of intellectual property and competition laws and these kinds of things, which will also be helpful to you. Those are among some of the benefits. But there are challenges to joining the WTO. There are, because there are things you do now that they will require you to adjust. All right? Let me give you an example. It is conceivable that if you join the WTO, they will negotiate for you to lower the duties on some items where now your government keeps the duty artificially high to protect local producers. Right? So the only reason why your duty on beds are so high is because you have local bed manufacturers. On water, because you have local water manufacturers. On some agricultural goods, because you have agricultural producers here. And so it may be that to get in, they say to you, you have to bring that down from the 100% to say 60%, and they will feel, the local producers, like they can't survive with the 60% because you won't buy from them if you get these much cheaper items from abroad. Okay, so the competition is a problem, they may definitely say. Now, I only want you to realize that's a legitimate thing. If you're a producer, this is your income, this is your livelihood, then that's something for you. So I understand that. I only want you to know that you're only choosing losers then, though. Because what we are saying in the Bahamas is, for the waterman to survive, I have to make you pay more. So it ain't like the economy benefiting in the net, in the whole. It's just a trade-off between who gets to pay. That's always what happens. All right? If the government decided I'm only going to let Bahamians produce water, you'll never see another Zephyr Hills water or any other kind of water. That's only a punishment to those who want other water. Okay? And so you can make those decisions. I'm not suggesting that you shouldn't. So you have that as an issue. Then you have some industries that your country reserves for Bahamians. Exclusively. 16 of them, as a matter of fact. Wholesale and retail trade, ground transportation, inter-island freight, import-export agencies, and the like. right? So the government says only Bahamians. So it is possible that in your negotiations, the countries may ask you to open up some of those areas. Okay, and so the people who are in those areas will say, well, I don't have to compete with this foreign producer, and I don't have to compete with that foreign producer. As you hear, Walmart can come in, right? So that's a concern people can have. And then, of course, the government will lose some revenue for sure, because if you lower duty, then the government ain't collecting it, right? Everybody says, yeah, but the government ain't collecting that duty. What that mean for us? That means if the government ain't collecting the duty, that means you ain't paying it. Doesn't mean the money in your pocket. But the government still may have to find a replacement for that. So those are among the most significant challenges that might exist. Let me say this much about all those challenges. One, on the competition front, just because it might happen doesn't mean that it will happen. That's why you are negotiating. Let me give you an example. Maybe Walmart can come into the Bahamas. Right? Let me hear me out. Maybe Walmart can come in the Bahamas, but maybe you could decide, I'll only let it happen if it's owned by a Bahamian though.
That's true.
Don't tell me it can't happen. How can Kentucky get here? Burger King get here. McDonald's get here. As a matter of fact, y'all even ain't fair in the Bahamas. I can tell you how you're not fair. Bamboo Shack and Frank's, and Bahama Grill all have to compete with foreign franchises.
All the time.
All day. All day. But the lawyers don't have to compete. How is that fair? Solomon's them don't have to compete. Rupert Roberts them don't have to compete. So some Bahamians gotta compete with the foreigners, and other Bahamians don't have to. I'm an economist. The Chamber of Commerce hired foreign economists to do their study on the WTO. The WTO asked me when I'm done with this job as chief negotiator, can I come and talk to them? But I was because apparently some Bahamians, like lawyers, don't have to compete. Other professionals, like economists, have to compete. Same Bahamian passports, but different. What's wrong with that picture? Bahamian hotels have to compete with big foreign hotels. So we have found ways to have foreign participation without violating our Bahamian ownership concept, and we could do that, right? I've said to some engineers, I said, listen, you around here, you Lang & Co. International people coming into your country to do work. Who know you, Lang & Co.? Where they know you from? But they may know Schumacher & Co. So you could say to Schumacher & Co., I want to be your franchise in the Bahamas. Now, when the international person comes, oh, we know Schumacher & Co. But you get the benefit out of it because you are owner of the franchise. This is happening all over the world. So that is possible. And then the government's revenue. Well, I can tell you this, but don't tell the government I tell you this. Yeah. I said, don't tell the government I tell you this. Y'all know I was the Minister of Finance at one point, right? We estimate that your losses, your gains, your keep your money might be of the order of $40 to $100 million. $40 to $100 million. The government of the Bahamas is wastes half of that in a year. At least half. You know that, right? Now, y'all don't tell yourselves, I told you all this. You know the Steve, half of that. From customs? Oh, yeah. Oh, the customs. Additionally,
the customs officer's pocket, another quarter.
And listen to me, on the easier front, your government gives away in concessions on an annual basis $1+ billion. To who? To all kinds of Bahamian businesses, foreign businesses, all kinds of people. Let's give it to you too. What do you think an exemption is? As a concession to you. So the government could reduce that by 10% and make up that difference. But they ain't gonna do it now, because you remember now, see, all of me listening, I can tell you, don't tell the government I tell you all this. the Minister of Finance said, they're raising VAT. He said, and a part of that is going to help them pay off a $300 million arrears he met. And he can pay it off in 3 years. Well, if he raises a VAT, and the VAT can stay raised, and he pay off the arrears, when he finish paying the arrears, boom shakalaka.
Body good.
Body good.
Ain't good.
Any losses he suffers in WTO, he could make up for. All right, so I'm just saying to you that all the challenges that I pointed out, they are means to solutions. As I leave you, I don't believe, frankly, that you will join the WTO anytime soon. I'm your chief negotiator. I can tell you, just looking at the metrics, you have scared off your policymakers. You have. Yes, your panic, your anti-words, etc. They're politicians, and I understand them. I've been there. You're going to go and ask people to vote for you again, and if they're ticked off with you, and you already have other reasons why you tick off, adding the WTO to it becomes... So I understand the calculations. So my own view is you will not do that this term, and if you don't do it this term, you will not do it next term. You will not be in the WTO for 10 years plus. To my mind, and I'm speaking to you as a professional you have to train, you are making a big mistake. You won't feel this in any dramatic way. Nobody will punish you. But you will experience it in a lack of better growth than you would have had. And that's going to be unfortunate for lots of families that need it. But we can make that choice and that decision. My own hope is that going forward, what you will do is that you will study more, read more, understand it better, so that you can appreciate why your world economy right now is suffering the threat of recession because of these trade wars. They do not help anyone. We are all better off. The freer trade is, and the more extensive trade is, we are all better off. And if you ever doubt that, just look at the lifestyle you're living and ask yourself, if I couldn't get the stuff I have, what would I look like? There are Bahamians who say, we don't need foreigners, we don't need foreign investment, we don't need foreign investment. And I say to them, let's imagine a world where there's no foreign investment. And then I say to them, we don't even have to imagine that world anymore. Go to Grand Bahama.
That's the truth.
Since Bahamians could do it, Bahamian investors could do it, why are they not in Freeport? The place has got all kinds of great attributes, why are they not there? Why is the only hope for Freeport now that Royal Caribbean and Carnival are going to do something? Let's go to any family island where there's nothing happening.
Yeah, I gotta go.
Why not the Bahamians in them? Let's not fool ourselves. We need international capital like we need international sellers to live the lifestyle that we're living. And at the end of the day, if we're smart, we can get them, undo us, and take this country to a place that we want it to go. All right, God bless you. If you have any questions, or if you can, I'll be happy to take them.
What about Brexit? How will it affect us?
Well, Brexit will not affect you directly, but to the extent that Brexit results in some supply logistics that you used to rely on through the UK, they may cause some interruptions that way. Because some companies buy from British companies that buy from European countries, and if they don't have a smooth Brexit, then you could have some disruptions that way. But Brexit will not be a big part of your picture. The US-China war, that's a huge, huge implication for us.
Mr. Lang, what role does WTO have to play in this trade war that's going on now?
Very interesting. Even though we call it a trade war, it's really a regulated war. Remember, Donald Trump made his pitch by saying China is not obeying the WTO rules. And so he therefore unilaterally raised tariffs on China. So in order not to breach the rules of trade that he is a part of, he had to invoke the rules by saying China was breaching the rules. China could have many times over increased tariffs against the U.S. That's a real war. In a real war, you try to win, but that's not what they did. They did a reciprocal trade, reciprocal tariff elevation. That was in keeping with the rules of trade at the WTO. So it's still a managed war in many ways. The WTO doesn't have any power in and of itself. The WTO, like all international agreements, are a matter of cooperation. There's no world police that could swoop in and make anybody do anything. That's why I wrote recently, Achilles said, there's no pact between lions and men. Only men have pacts among themselves. So when you have rogues prepared to breach rules, then you live in a world of chaos. And that's the scary part of this. If everybody decides, well, everybody going their own way, trust me, I tell you, I do not want to live in that world. We did that experiment before. It happened just before World War II.
Lastly,
Sure.
how would you summarize succinctly the reason for Bahamians not wanting to join WTO?
Not knowing and
Education.
misinformation.
Education.
It's really the bottom line, lack of education. Okay? I asked a guy one time, oh, Mr. Lang, but if we let the WTO come in here, anybody from anywhere in the world will be able to come and work in the Bahamas.
That's their biggest
So I said to
argument.
you, I said to him, I said, where you get that from? Man, that's what everybody's saying.
That's their biggest argument.
I said, let me ask you a question. You drive ambulance? He said, yeah. I said, and you learn how to drive ambulance and be a paramedic from everybody? I see. He said, what? Yeah, I said, everybody just off the street. You pick up how to do this. He said, no, I had to be taught this. I said, well, why are you picking up every other thing off the street? I said, let me ask you a question. Is Haiti in the WTO?
Yes.
Is Jamaica in the WTO?
Yes.
Is Nigeria, is Guatemala in the WTO? Is America in the WTO?
Yes.
Okay, all four of them. If that is true, why can't the Haitians, Guatemalans, and Jamaicans walk up to the U.S. border and say, listen, we are all in the WTO, I come to work.
Never gonna happen.
Why is it not possible? If there's free movement of labor in the WTO, why Mr. Trump trying to build a wall
To Mexico.
between them and Mexicans and Guatemalans and them?
Yes.
Because if they're all in, what's the problem? Yeah, nonsense. Utter nonsense. That's why. People say, oh, well, you can lose your sovereignty. Y'all know how long the Bahamas been trying to join the WTO? For 18 years.
Yeah.
If we did this in the next 2 years, we'd be the fourth longest in history of WTO. Now, imagine, they say you're being forced to do it. If you're being forced to do it, them people who are forcing you are very weak. They got a gun to your head for 18 years. Hey, mama. Christmas gone. Christmas gone. Why? Because it's a sovereign decision. And guess what? If you wanted to leave after you join, you could. Article 15 of the agreement says any party to this agreement can withdraw itself from this agreement by providing a letter of withdrawal to the Director General, and such withdrawal shall take effect within 6 months of the presentation of that letter.
Has any country left?
Never.
Never. Too many benefits.
Not one. Every time people talk about the WTO, they say, yeah, but what about Antigua and Barbuda? They went against the United States in the World Trade Court, and the United States still didn't pay, and so forth and so forth. Doesn't that prove they don't work? So you know me, I just get a little cheeky. So I called them the ambassador for Antigua and Barbuda, who took the matter to the World Trade Court, who's renowned for having won against the United States of America. I say, sir, my people say, y'all lose, win, and America ain't paying, and that's one of the reasons why we shouldn't join the WTO. You know his immediate reaction to that was? Utter nonsense. He said, either you are at the table having lunch or you're on the table being the lunch. He says, we prefer to be there, helping to shape and make the rules. It's a little small tiny country. That was his thing. You know the Chinese man, y'all know China built the Great Wall, right? Y'all ever seen the Great Wall? I've been there. The Great Wall is built around a mountain. Okay? So you know how much kind of discipline it takes to build a wall like that? The Chinese negotiator, chief negotiator said to me, he says, Mr. Lang, you know, when we were trying to decide whether we should go forward with joining the WTO or not, he said the thing we immediately considered was we wanted to discipline our economic reform efforts by committing ourselves internationally to doing so. We were disciplining ourselves by this commitment. You know why he understood what they were doing? Let me tell you all how your country works. I've been there. Your government decides they want to make a reform for you that's hard, but that's going to help you. And you know what happens? Some funder calls the prime minister and says, sir, you can't do that, man. I'm going to hate my business. Well, that's my backup. So you know what he does? Shelves it. And you know when he gets picked up again? Never. Yeah, because the next man can get the same call. And the next man. You know the things we don't change? There's two ways we change in this Bahamas, and if I'm wrong, you tell me. There are two ways we change. We are forced to by outside powers, or we are made to because we belong to things that are global in nature. That's when we change. Us, we don't change nothing voluntarily mostly. You don't. But that's understandable. That's human nature. Even the financial experts tell you if you want to learn to save, what do? Put yourself in an automatic savings plan. If you want to lose weight, don't they say get your peers to help you? But the same thing is true in the international community. Once you have a commitment in the international community, it makes your discipline more strengthened. God bless you. Learn as much as you can.
So one final question,
Yes,
sir.
yes, sir.
Is our Bahamian dollar in jeopardy?
Never. Not any time. Well, the WTO will have nothing to do with it for sure. But if you ever want to know if your dollar is in jeopardy, you only got to do one thing. Just one thing. Everybody say one thing.
One thing.
Teach your students one thing.
One thing.
Tell them, ask the central bank, what is our international reserve, sir? If they tell you it's anywhere over $700 million, go home and sleep. Because that's the only thing that matters to the value of the Bahamian dollar. Is the level of reserves you have. What do you think that level is now? $1.1 billion. All right, what does that mean? That means that you can purchase at least 6 months of imports at any given time you wish. That's the only thing that jeopardizes the value of your dollar. Okay? So there's no issues at all. All right? Thank you very much.
For everyone here, I'd like to thank you for taking your time out. We greatly appreciate it, and I'm quite sure that everyone here has learned something and has a lot to think about and to impart on others. Thank you very much.
What a powerful session. So, right now, we're going to take a 15-minute coffee break. 10 minutes? No, 15-minute coffee break, and we will meet back in 15 minutes. That's too much time, eh? 10 minutes.
Who said that?
Say 10 and let them see it. Yeah.
Say that's going to be based on two very, very important topics. We start with the ABCs of value-added tax, followed by customs reform. Customs duty reform. Before I introduce our speakers, though, I just want to take a quick moment to recognize our sponsors and just to remind you that they are at the back. Please, when you get a chance, approach the tables and see what they have to offer, because thanks to Commonwealth Bank as well as Family Guardian, we are able to have this wonderful space, have awesome speakers, have lunch, coffee break, all these things provided for us. So please, when you get some time, approach the booths and see what they have to offer. So when we look at our speakers for the second session, we start with Mr. Pedro Toledo. He serves as a Canadian Chartered Accountant and has 25 years plus of experience in accounting reform. Following him, Mrs. Margarita Wilson, she serves as the Chief Customs Officer and has 32 years plus of experience in customs. So please give them a rousing round of applause as they come.
Good morning, everyone. So I will start off with just a few, maybe not simply a few, but a number of slides dealing with value-added taxes. I'm told that it's a workshop, so, and I was told to provide some education on the ABCs of value-added tax, which I understand to be the fundamentals of it. So I trust that you have your notepads, pencils, and calculators with you today. Oh, we have the smartphones.
Yes.
But as the introduction went, I'm a Canadian chartered accountant, and a little history about me. I spent a few years in public accounting. I served as the financial controller at the National Insurance Board for a few years, and I held the position of chief financial officer, financial controller for a number of companies around town, particularly in the financial services in banks, including Canadian Imperial Bank of Commerce, CIBC, First Caribbean, and SG Hambros Bank and Trust Company. So, let's get started with the ABCs of value-added tax. VAT. I suppose everybody is by now very familiar with what VAT is. But I'm kind of partial to this question. What is VAT? Over the years, I have done a number of presentations on value-added tax. I didn't bother to mention that I did a consultancy with the Ministry of Finance in the early days, 2014, when the country was going ahead with the introduction of VAT, and I did a number of their seminars here in New Providence as well as throughout the Fombi Islands. I like to ask this question: what is VAT? The reason why I like to ask this question is because I like the response. No, not that. It's not really vodka and tonic. I must confess that after a few of the presentations I did, some of the persons said at the end that they wished that that's what it actually was. So, value-added tax. The history, let's look at the history of value-added tax. And before I put this up, I should ask a question. Where do you think value-added tax came from? We just had before us a prior Minister of State for Finance. Do you think that Mr. Lang came up with value-added tax? No. Where do you think it came from? You saw it on the slide.
I actually thought it was originally British.
You thought it was British?
Yeah.
Right. So, let's say, the history of that. It's actually a German businessman who is credited with coming up with the idea of VAT back in the 1920s. What was only an idea had since been built into a system by the so-called father of VAT, Maurice Loret, and my French is terrible, who was then the joint director of the French tax authorities. So, VAT was first implemented in France in 1954. And it was introduced at the manufacturing levels, and then shortly thereafter in the former French colonies in about the 1960s. Now around this time, these colonies were becoming independent. So that is where VAT came from. It wasn't in the Americas, it wasn't in the Caribbean, but actually it came from across the seas of Europe. But in the 60s, VAT began to expand, starting with 10 countries in the late 60s. In 65, VAT was not yet a worldwide success, as most general consumption taxes in the OECD, we know what the OECD countries are, were in fact retail sales taxes. And everybody is quite familiar with retail sales taxes. But by 1989, 48 countries, primarily those in Western Europe and Latin America, and including a handful of developing countries, had adopted VAT. Now I must say that VAT got very strong support from the IMF, and its spread accelerated and was now being implemented in more than 140 countries around the world. In fact, value-added taxes have become the most prominent consumption taxes, and it accounts for 1/5 of total taxes collected in these countries. So, VAT has quite an impressive history, and when you delve into understanding VAT, it's very much have been in play in the European Union. And when we talk about cross-border trades, that's where VAT became very complicated, as one country within the European Union wants to impose tariffs with respect to another country within the European Union. So that's the history of it. Wasn't Mr. Lang? If we look at the countries around the Caribbean, you'd see that many of them, almost all of them, actually do have a value-added tax regime. Haiti has it, Antigua, Guyana, St. Kitts, St. Lucia, Barbados. And what's interesting with the chart is that you see the level of that. I believe that the lowest is 10% in Haiti, and it goes up to 17.5%. So we in the Bahamas, we were starting off at 15%. Our initial draft bill was for 15% VAT. After the consultation with the businesses and the general public, it was cut in half to 7.5%. So 7.5% among those countries, and you would see that the Bahamas was indeed at the lowest. Was, and now as of the middle of last year, it's at 12%. Still low. Still, it's at relatively low. Now, as Mr. Lang said earlier, Bahamians don't like paying taxes. So even at 12%, it's still considered kind of high. But what is that? Well, firstly, and more importantly, value-added tax is a consumption-based tax, and therefore it carries all the characteristics embedded in consumption taxes. Value-added taxes is similar to sales tax, but instead of being collected at the end point of a retail sale, it is collected in stages along the production, that is the manufacturing, and the distribution stages. It's a primary distinction between value-added tax and sales taxes. But the final or end consumer is the person who bears the entire amount of the tax. As each middle person, each middleman, each business, along the way of the production and distribution stage, has the opportunity to claim back any VAT that they've paid. Generally speaking, there's some circumstances where that doesn't happen, but generally speaking. So as a consumption-based tax, it is intended that the person consuming the goods or services is the person who is responsible for paying and bearing the burden of the tax. Now, a very important feature of that is that unlike customs duties, which by the way is also a consumption tax, value-added tax is applied to both goods as well as services. Major distinction, major change for the Bahamas in 2015. Bahamians were accustomed to paying taxes on the importation of goods, but they were not accustomed to paying any taxes on services that they would consume within the economy. And the paying of customs duties or border taxes on the importation of goods ultimately came to the consumer, because when the merchant puts the goods inside his store, he takes account of the customs duty that he has paid, and he marks up his price to reimburse himself for the customs duties. So at the end of the day, it is in fact the consumer who's paying the tax. But as I said, prior to 2015, that tax was only paid on the consumption of goods and not the consumption of services. But still, to draw some distinctions, some persons likened or asked a question as to whether VAT is similar to customs duties, excise taxes, or even at the time withholding taxes. And it's not. It is considered to be a relatively very efficient tax. And looking to see, I'm skipping through some of my notes. So we will come back to how efficient it is. But it's not an excise tax. It's not customs duty. And by now you would have realized it's certainly not customs duties. The first thing persons complain about is the fact that after paying the customs duties, then they pay VAT on the customs duties. I'm not going to overstep, but I'm sure our representative from customs will speak a bit to that. But I can tell you the justification for that. Within the economy, when you purchase goods or services, you consume goods or services, you're paying VAT on the goods and services. If that particular product was manufactured within the economy, within this particular country, then there's no import duties involved, but you're paying VAT on that item as you go into the store to purchase it. However, when you're bringing the product across the borders into the country, at the point that it comes across the border, there's customs duty. That then becomes the landed cost of that item. So if you're going to now move this item and put it into a store and sell it, well, now VAT is applicable on that particular item based on its landed cost. Its landed cost is the original cost plus customs duty. So that is the justification for VAT being charged on top of customs duties as well. Some people are shaking their head. It's also not considered to be double taxation.
It is double taxation.
It is not. So I trust I'm not setting up the customs. Oh my goodness, you know what? So I just wanted to provide those justifications for you. And for the Bahamas back in 2014, 2015, value-added taxes was seen to be something new for the consumer. But the reality is that VAT had been on the drawing board and it was being researched and planned out for at least 10 years. It was something that a lot of people knew was going to come. It's just a matter of when. And for someone like myself who studied taxes, I feel the same way about those two dirty words, income taxes. And what I should have done when I pointed out the chart of all the countries that have VAT, all of those countries also have income taxes.
Really?
We in the Bahamas, when we complain about the level of taxation and we think of our consumption tax, we tend to ignore the fact that we do not pay taxes on our income, on our earnings. We don't. And don't tell me, well, we pay the national insurance contribution. Yes, to some extent, national insurance sometimes is considered to be a tax, but really national insurance is a replacement, an income replacement scheme.
Yes. So
So the contributions that you pay to national insurance, you're intended to get back. As a matter of fact, some people will argue that your contributions may not even cover the benefits that you're getting back. And obviously that depends on the actuaries working out their life expectancy levels, etc. So we don't have a payroll tax. National insurance is the closest thing to it, but it's not a payroll tax. We don't have income tax. We don't have sales tax. We have value-added tax. And we have a few other embedded taxes. So I would like to think, and I am a proponent of income taxes. Everybody's quiet.
I wouldn't say that.
And I'm digressing a little bit here. I am a proponent of corporate income taxes at this point. They're not personal income taxes.
Can get us some better.
And I like to think that I'm a fairly rational person. So I rationalize it because the consumer, the individual, is paying a consumption tax known as VAT at 12%. The businesses are not. Because as you will see as we go through this, value-added tax only passes through the business. It doesn't sit with the business. They pass it on to the consumer. So at the end of the day, it is the individuals, the consumers who are bearing the value-added tax. So my rationalization is that where's the tax on the business now? So why not have corporate income taxes on business? And you heard Mr. Light say that, well, 10 years, 20 years ago, 40 years ago, it was really considered dirty words to mention income taxes. And particularly because of our financial services industry. But that has all changed. As a matter of fact, in my mind, that changed at least 10 years ago when we gave up bank secrecy, and then we moved to bank confidentiality, then we move, as we're doing now, to just open up the books and let everybody see what's happening. And a lot of that has happened because we do not have an income tax regime. And we don't have the ability for international agencies to be able to work out arrangements legitimately and with appropriate levels of disclosure to understand what's going on in our businesses, particularly foreign businesses, foreign entities doing business in the Bahamas, and understand what is going through their incomes. But I digress. So, we said VAT is an indirect tax. We're saying that it is an indirect tax. Does anybody know what an indirect tax is? Now, and I understand that you're all teachers, right? When you ask a question in your class, student doesn't respond, what do? I should say that there's a register up here with all the names.
Because the nervous one.
The way it works is that you pick on the one that's putting their hands down. All right, let me just, I'm gonna come back and explain a little bit indirect tax. But VAT is an indirect tax. VAT is somewhat more equitable than other types of taxations. It's not progressive, not levied according to one's ability to bear. So we then look at the term of being progressive or being regressive type of tax. You can start thinking about the definition of that, because I'm going to ask them. And that is the same amount of taxes will be paid for the goods and services regardless of the earning power of the consumer. So, direct versus indirect taxation. A direct tax is a tax that is paid directly by an individual or organization to the taxing authority. Direct. An indirect tax is a tax that's collected by an intermediary from the person who bears the ultimate economic burden of the tax. So, an example of a direct taxation: real property tax.
Income tax.
Real property tax, income tax, where the individual who is bearing the burden of the tax pays it directly to the taxing authority. But VAT is an indirect tax, because the consumer is not paying it directly to the taxing authorities. Instead, there are businesses, intermediaries, who are collecting the taxes and forwarding it on to the taxing authority. Atkinson, and this goes back quite some distance, Atkinson said that direct taxes may be adjusted to the individual characteristics of the taxpayer, whereas indirect taxes are levied on transactions irrespective of the circumstances of the buyer or seller. That's another plug for direct taxes such as income taxes. You can manipulate the rate of taxes, the exemptions for it, and it will impact directly the individual who is paying the taxes. So we also said that the value-added taxes was not a progressive tax. So what is a progressive tax? A progressive tax is one where the average rate of tax rises as income rises. That is, the proportion of your income paid in tax rises as your income rises. And you become richer. Regressive taxation, converse. A regressive tax is generally a tax that is applied uniformly and is unrelated to income. The result is that the average rate of tax is greatest for those with the lower levels of income. I wanted to say that a little bit differently, because I'm not quite sure I've driven that point home. But we've heard many times persons talking about how regressive our taxes are in this country. And that is because most of our taxes, almost all of it, are indirect taxes. So generally in the taxation system, it's an important feature for the percentage of the tax burden as relates to income or consumption. So the terms progressive and regressive are used to describe the way the rate progresses from low to high or from high to low. The term describes a distribution effect. So is that understandable? I mean, it's sometimes lost on some of us, but the progressive tax means that the person who has the ability to bear the taxes is paying more in the dollar amount of taxes. Whereas a regressive, it's not that way. So the person who earns
$200
Minimum wage pay more tax.
First of all, I'd say 4,000 a month.
Yeah.
Bring it down a little bit.
No, but progressive tax affects us because we get
Those
the
of you
lower
who were
part.
here yesterday understand. So, okay, let's say that the person who makes $100 a week and they're paying taxes of 10% on their purchases. This is an indirect tax, so they are buying, they're spending in the grocery store, whatever, $50 and paying $10 in taxes. That's equivalent to 10%. Let's bump it up a bit. They're spending paying $25 in taxes. So that comes up to being 25% of their earnings. Now, a person who makes $200, to make it simple, $200 a week, and they're buying the same items and therefore paying the same $25. Well, that's 12.5% of their $200. Now, let's bump that up even further. A person who's making $400 a week and they're paying the same $25. Well, now you see how the percentage of their income just goes down and down. So, an indirect tax, which is generally a regressive tax, results in the person who was on the low scale of the earning level paying a larger percentage of their income in taxes. And that's why it is regressive. A person who has the ability to pay more in taxes is not paying more. Conversely, if it was an income tax, which is a progressive tax, all persons are paying 10% of their income. Well, the person who's earning $100 is going to pay 10% or $10. The person who's earning $400 is going to pay 10% or $40. They have a greater ability to pay the taxes, so they will pay more. That's what you would call a progressive tax system. And I do say that the taxes in the Bahamas are largely regressive. And I say that largely simply to allow a margin of error. So the progressivity is based on the notion of ability to pay, that people on the higher groups' incomes are better able to make a bigger contribution to the financing of collective, public, and the welfare state. Supporters of progressive taxes argue that such a system is equitable and the progressive taxation can and should be used to redistribute income within society so that the final distribution is more equal than the original one. That, when I was doing this, that led me into thinking, so what is taxation? Why are we paying taxes? Everybody agrees that taxation is a good thing.
It's a necessary.
It's a necessary evil.
And it's something that we should be doing. Yes.
If we keeping our economy going.
I mean, even Mr. Lang said that earlier.
Yes, yeah, you need the taxes.
That we should not be ducking the customs person. And we should be paying our taxes because it is a good thing.
I pay mine.
It is a necessity.
It's a necessity.
So, the encyclopedia said, well, taxes is the imposition of compulsory levies on individuals or entities by government. Oxford says it's a compulsory contribution to state revenue levied by the government on workers' income and business profits or added to the cost of some goods, services, and transactions. That's an interesting definition because you look and it points out value-added taxes, it points out income taxes as well. I use this as a preferred definition, that taxes is the principal method by which a government obtains revenue into its fiscal budget to finance its expenditures by imposing charges on citizens and corporate entities. To me, it's simple, it's comprehensive, and it tells you, one, it's necessary. The government has to raise taxes in order to finance its expenditures. And it has to charge those taxes to citizens and corporate entities. So whenever we talk about reducing taxes or not increasing taxes, there's generally a direct correlation to the level of expenditures. Notwithstanding the 50 to 100 or 40 to 100 million dollars that go by the wayside annually, according to Mr. Lang. According to Mr. Lang. But there is a correlation. All right, so it's a good thing. And if we want to extrapolate that, does that make value-added taxes a good thing? We have silence again.
It's necessary.
Well, in the beginning, February 2013, the Bahamas government released a white paper on value-added taxes. Sorry, it was actually a reform for a taxation reform. 2013, that's when we all started. And why? Well, we just looked at where we were back then. 2013, 2014. 2013, you'd see that there was consistent year-over-year deficits, budget deficits, 450, 451, 371 in 2010, 2011, 451, growing to 545. Those are all deficits. That is saying that the level of taxation, the revenue for the government, was insufficient to meet the expenditures that the government was making. And that has been consistent for years. We take this back several more years, and we had similar deficits. So, as a result of that, the national debt continued to increase and was heading north of 60% of the GDP. So again, this is a little bit of the history. This is why we had to move as we did, and that's how we moved. So the white paper primarily advanced the government's position for value-added tax. It's called a reform, taxation reform, but it really just addressed the need to introduce value-added tax. And it indicated that the taxation structure at the time depended on obtaining approximately 60% of the government's revenue from import duties and excise taxes. This heavy reliance on border taxes created a very narrow tax base, taxing only goods and producing an inadequate level of revenue. Interestingly, back in 2013, the Bahamas also expected to accede to the WTO. I left that in there in 2014. That was, again, the Bahamas' expectation that by 2014 it would have acceded, which would invariably reduce or require the reduction or the elimination of these border tariffs or customs duties, as we know them. So, we were expecting to get rid of customs duties, and therefore we needed a replacement. Following the white paper, we had a draft bill in November of 2013. We had an act that was passed in December of 2014, and our world changed January of 2015 with the introduction of value-added tax. As was said earlier, it was introduced at the 7.5% and not 15%. The Ministry of Finance, if you were to check their website, has their definition of what value-added tax is. It's a tax charged on most goods and services that registered businesses provide in the Bahamas. It is also charged on goods and services and some services that are imported from outside the Bahamas. And it tells you, it is a tax on consumption, ultimately paid by the final consumer, but collected and remitted to the controller of that by businesses. So it tells you that it is a consumption tax, and it tells you it is an indirect tax because it's collected and remitted by businesses and paid over to the taxing authority. I put in here the other day this definition, which I now see also on the Ministry of Finance in the VAT department. And it's slightly different, but it says similar things, that VAT is an indirect tax. It's saying it more specifically. An indirect tax, which is considered broadly based consumption tax, charged on the value added to goods and services. I would have just left that out. It applies to almost all goods and services that are imported, bought, and sold for use or consumption. So this is a more recent definition that they've put on their website to help explain value of tax. I believe I have about another half an hour. Moderator. Okay. All right, so that means I need to speak more quickly and run through a few more. So I'm just going to hit some of the important things of VAT. So the VAT Act tells you that VAT is imposed on and from this date it comes into force, and is chargeable on taxable supply. And I guess I'm going to get into a little bit more of the technical stuff with respect to how VAT is worked. It's chargeable on what they call a taxable supply. And this taxable supply has to be made by a taxable person. So not just any person. It has to be someone who is identified as a taxable person. And then it's also chargeable on the taxable importation made by any person. The person who's importing something into the country doesn't have to be a taxable person. It's just a regular consumer. And that's why you pay VAT on top of your duty when you come in at the airport or when you import through a broker. And then I added this last bit here, which I don't really want to get into because apparently that's an amendment from July of 2019, which is a supply of real property made to any person. And I will say this much about the recent amendments. I'm still going through them to understand it. Because this last one changes things a bit, because here it's now saying that real property, the transaction of real property now is becoming a supply. And you'll see why that's a little bit of a oddity as I move forward. Just stick a pin in it that there's a 2019 amendment that real property is now a supply, which is subject to VAT. The supply of goods and services in the Bahamas made by a person in course of furtherance of a taxable activity carried on by such person other than an exempt supply. So that's what a taxable supply is. Remember, it's a taxable supply on which VAT is charged. And taxable supply is the supply of goods or services in the Bahamas made by a person in the course of furtherance of a taxable activity. Leads you to another definition. So what is taxable activity? Taxable activity. So here, a taxable activity is any activity within the Bahamas carried on in the form of a business which is carried on continuously or regularly by a person, whether or not for profit, which for consideration falls into the other account. But the idea here is that a taxable activity is something that is in the form of a business, something that you're doing regularly as a business. Supply of goods and services, furtherance of a taxable activity. And then we have this at the end, C, a supply of real property made to any person. But that doesn't necessarily mean that it's done in the form of a business. So, to me, that's the oddity that is now being introduced. Leaving that alone, what is the supply of goods? Well, it's a sale of goods. It's the grant of the use of a right. It's a supply of goods for consideration in goods or services. So if you're doing barter trading, it's still considered to be a supply of goods. Supply of services. And this is a very nice definition. A supply of services is anything done which is not a supply of goods or money. So that's the catch-all definition. Anything done which is not a supply of goods. So, basically, a supply of goods or services can be a taxable supply, or an exempt supply, or a mixed supply. So if you are in business, you can be supplying goods and services which are taxable, or goods and services which are exempt, or goods and services which are a mixture of the two. But if we focus on the first here, taxable supplies then would be charged at what is called a standard rate or zero rate. And on introduction of value-added taxes, the standard rate was 7.5. Recently, it has increased to 12. I'm going to jump through a little bit of this. A taxable person is someone who carries on what they call the taxable activity and is registered or is required to be registered. And for those of you who may be engaged in businesses as well, that's always a very important thing. Because you are not registered with the VAT department does not mean that you're not liable for VAT. Because it says that a taxable person is a person who carries on a taxable activity doing something that should be taxed and is registered or is required to be registered. And further on in the Act, it tells us that if you should be registered and you did not register, well, the controller has the discretion and more or less the requirement to register you, to involuntarily register you. And unfortunately, when that happens, the date for registration can be made retroactive. And if the date is made retroactive, you're responsible for the VAT for all of your taxable activity from the date of your registration. Now, that's double jeopardy. Because you would not have presumably collected the VAT from your customers, but you're responsible to pay it. So in that case, you become the bearer of the VAT. So back a couple of years ago, we were really encouraging persons to go ahead and determine their requirement to register and to do so. And for new businesses, it's still applicable. There are some items or supplies which are considered exempt, which were listed in the second schedule to the Act. And you may have heard these terms of output VAT, input VAT. As a consumer, you're mostly concerned with output VAT. And output VAT is the tax that's collected by the registered taxpayer on taxable goods and services supplied. So that's the VAT that you as the consumer pay as the storekeeper, the store, the business, when you are buying goods, or the individual or company when you are purchasing services. Input VAT, however, is a tax paid by a registered taxpayer on taxable imports and on taxable domestic purchases. So for a business, when he's buying his inventory, he's paying VAT. When he's importing stuff, and he's paying VAT to the customs officer, then that's his input VAT. But remember, he has the opportunity to claim that VAT. So, I put in this slide as to who can charge and claim VAT. Well, only persons who are registered are permitted to charge and collect VAT. In fact, it's an offense under the Act if you are not registered and you were to charge someone VAT. Only registrants will be able to claim the input VAT. Well, you certainly can't get back your input VAT if you're not registered under the Act. And registrants are issued with a TIN, tax identification number, and registrants must issue a VAT receipt or VAT invoice. This last point is something that's a lot of people tend to ignore, particularly businesses when they are issuing invoices. They sometimes ignore the fact that they need to be VAT compliant with their invoices. The problem with that is that when they submit their returns to the VAT department, and the VAT department goes through and does an audit on them, the VAT department can very easily disqualify their input VAT. Because they say, well, you didn't get a proper VAT invoice when you bought this stuff. You're saying you paid VAT. The invoice doesn't have all the requirements the invoice should have on it. Therefore, we can't accept it. So instead of claiming back that VAT, they ignore it. And when they ignore that, the VAT amount that you're paying to them goes up. Again, these are things that businesses must bear in mind. This is something that's persons, whether they are business or consumers, need to be aware of. The prices that are displayed are supposed to be VAT inclusive. When you go into the store and you take something off the shelf, the price is supposed to be VAT inclusive. The final price to the consumer is deemed to include the applicable VAT. So if you take it off the shelf and it has a price on it, you can tell the merchant, this has VAT in it, even if the merchant doesn't. However, on advertising and marketing materials, the price can be displayed exclusive of VAT, provided it is noted that the advertised price does not include a 12% VAT. Many times, and this provision came in, I think, largely because of the hotel industry, hotel and restaurant industry. Many times when you go into a restaurant, you see the menu doesn't have the VAT included in the price, but at the bottom it says VAT at 12% of the act. As a matter of fact, I was recently in the Bamboo Shack, and I noticed their display. Yeah, I was just there looking. At their display, they had the prices without VAT, and they said at the bottom, the VAT at 12% of the average. So they can do that. But generally, a store with a product is supposed to have the VAT included in the pricing, or it should state that the VAT is not included in the VAT. So that's important to you as a consumer, and it's important to businesses. This other element is very important to business owners, and that is that when they are setting their selling price, the VAT paid on their importation or their purchase of the goods should not form part of the selling price. This is another mistake that is sometimes made by businesses, which cause the end price, the retail price of goods and services to be higher than it should be. They import the item, they pay the customs duties, they pay the VAT on it, and they take all of that as their cost of the item, and then they mark it up. Now, at the end of the day, the price that you as the consumer are going to pay there is going to be artificially inflated, or it's going to be inflated. Because the amount of VAT that they pay, they're going to claim it back. So that VAT is not a part of the cost of goods. That VAT is a receivable that they're going to collect back. And I believe, I have no evidence to this, but I believe that's part of the reason
Yes.
why when we have the reductions in duty rates, they don't necessarily flow through,
Yes.
because they're keeping the retail price high because they're inventorying the value-added taxes as well. I'm going to just quickly get to the end of this by saying, what is VAT for the consumer? In essence, the consumer will pay VAT when purchasing goods or services which are considered to be taxable supplies, that is, they're not exempt from VAT, from a registered business, that is a person that's registered for VAT, and importing goods or services which are considered to be taxable supplies. That is what VAT is. I'm not going to go into all the details of the calculation of it, because a lot of the VAT Act speaks to businesses. Because remember now, businesses are the ones that's collecting the VAT. You as the consumer, you're simply responsible to pay the tax. But some of the points that I've made here, it's good to know when you go to a business. Because of my interest in VAT, in 2015, I drove around to a few businesses and I looked and saw what their receipts were saying, and was pointing out this and that about needs to state the VAT amount on it. But as a consumer, you need to be educated as to what to expect. And part of our problem, I think Mr. Lang also spoke to this, is that we don't seek the necessary education in order to administer our lives and govern ourselves appropriately. He drew the example of someone who was saying, well, WTA is not going to work out, because this is what he was heard on the streets. When we were introducing VAT, I heard businesses say, the businessman had said to me that, come 2015, he's just closing his business. And I said, why? He said, because taxes are going up. I'm now going to have to pay VAT. And I said, but do you understand what VAT is? Yes, I've heard people talking about VAT, and it's going to be another 7.5% that I have to pay to the government. And I said to him, but you as the business owner is not responsible for the VAT. You are to charge your customers the VAT, and the VAT that you collect from your customer is what you're going to pay on to the government after you take out the VAT that you have paid. So businesses didn't understand that, one, they are immediately getting a refund of any VAT they pay. Immediately. They're not waiting to apply to the government for a refund. They're deducting that from the VAT they've collected from their customers. So again, it's just important for us to understand what is being introduced, what our responsibilities are as citizens, and how we are to best govern ourselves. So I will end my presentation there, and to allow sufficient time for customs. Are there any questions? Any additional questions? Sorry, I'll stop.
Sir, is there any business that doesn't collect VAT?
Yeah, a business doesn't have to collect VAT if it's below the threshold of $100,000 in turnover. That has been set as a threshold. And the idea there was that they did not want small businesses, mom and pop shops, to be burdened with having to keep records and file VAT returns. But a business under that threshold can still register once they can satisfy the control of that they have the ability to keep the appropriate records and file their returns.
So those businesses aren't supposed to charge VAT?
If they're not registered. And again, by registration, they're supposed to display their certificate of registration. So if they're charging you VAT, they should have somewhere in the front there their certificate that says that they're registered to pay VAT. Right, Philip?
My question relates to the government deficit. Your data showed that there was an increasing trend in the deficit. Do you have anything to say what the effect was after that?
Yes, it came down.
It did come down.
Yeah, 2014, 2015, VAT was introduced in 2015. 2014, 2015, which was half of a year for VAT, the deficit started to drop. 2016, 2017, it dropped further. I haven't seen the data for 2017, 2018, which would have been when the VAT has been increased. But my understanding is that it might have moved marginally.
Marginally?
Yeah, I haven't seen the data yet.
So we can't.
But the expectation is that it's going to drop. And I'm taking up a bit more time than I should. It's going to improve, as Lang said, if you're going to pay off the national debt within 3 years by increasing VAT 40%, presumably you're collecting a lot more money. However, the expected level of additional revenue is not being realized because the base is not the same as it was. Question? Any other questions? No?
Yeah. I'm going to be very honest. Very often when I follow this kind of presentations, I feel that I really don't know a thing about many things because the topic itself is so complicated. It raises more questions than answers. Before we even talk about the VAT, whether it's necessary or not, the fact that it originated from Germany and the fact that Britain is trying to exit out of the European Union, which was championed by countries like Germany, personally, it makes me very, very suspicious of its origin. But going back historically with the idea of taxation and the reason for taxation and the extent to which countries are taxed, was the foundation really solid? Was it ideal? Does the government really have to do everything? Or are there things that societies are supposed to have done? I asked all of this because a school of thought is emerging that says there are things that the government shouldn't be involved in. Because they got involved, they then have to shoulder a responsibility that they shouldn't shoulder. And they can't shoulder it very well anyway.
Right. I think,
And all of these things.
yeah, I agree with you. Taxation in itself sometimes can be complicated, but a lot of that comes from the citizenry as to what things government is involved or is not involved. And from that determines the level of funding that the government requires. So it all comes back to the citizens at the end of the day being the ones who tell the government what they would like for them to do, and therefore what revenue interest rates. Thank you very much. I know I've gone over my time.
Yes.
And I would
All right, thank you very much, Mr. Clooney, for sharing those nuggets of information with us. So now let's turn our attention to our next speaker. Again, this is Margarita Wilson, who serves as Chief Customs Officer, as she addresses us on customs duty reform. Thank you.
Good morning again. How much time do I have? So they're gonna come. How much time do I have?
25 minutes.
Oh, wow. Okay. So 25 minutes is a very short time.
Bahamas Customs Department?
Yes. So, I'm going to do my best, try to condense everything very quickly and see how much questions I can accommodate, but it's very short time to do, to present everything that, you know, what I would have liked to. Okay, so I'm just going to give you a very, very brief overview on the Customs Department. Okay. You see all the buzz around town about click to clear? Yeah. I'm sure you want to know what that's all about. And any other thing relevant, because I was asked to talk about how we apply duty, how we apply value-added tax on all of our charges. So, excuse my poor presentation, I only had a very short time to put this together, so y'all excuse this. But our basic role is, of course, to collect and to protect government revenue. And we are like robots when we enter the Customs Department. It is ingrained in you. You are there to collect, not only to collect, but you are there to protect the government's revenue. So when you arrive as a passenger, as an arriving passenger to the airport, you know, we go crazy. You see all of these young officers and they want to open all your bags, they want to throw everything out. You paid more than that. You did not spend, at the time it was, you know. So because we didn't give them discretionary power. So they are there, so they're all zealous to collect all of the revenue that they can collect from you. So we are like robots. We have to collect and we have to protect because this is what we are taught to do. So currently we have a specific mandate. First, of course, is to collect the revenue. Second, we are to protect our borders against illicit import. And thirdly, trade facilitation, which is very big. And then the other things like assessing and collecting customs duties and processing passengers by cargo, mail, and all of that good stuff. Okay, and then we do all of this apprehending of person engaged in fraudulent practice with invoices and all of that. Sorry, I have to go through this very quickly to get to the real thing that you're interested in. So the scope of our responsibility of our department stretches throughout the archipelago of the Bahamas. We have 32 ports of entry. In Nassau, we have 2 ports of entry. That's LPIA and the port. Our Key actually is not an official port of entry because all of the vessels that would come into the Bahamas, they would have to answer to the port authority. Likewise, the aircraft, we have Odyssey Aviation, we have General Aviation, we have Executive Flight Support, they have to answer to LPIA. So we have 2 main ports of entry in Nassau. Okay, and throughout the Family Islands, we have, wherever there is a customs officer, it is considered a port of entry. So places like Auckland, Crooked Island, Ragged Island, Maguana, they are not ports of entry. Okay, wherever there is a customs officer. And this is our controller, Dr. Janine Moss, at this time. First female controller, by the way. That's right. So, talk about, we are a global community, we have to conduct things in a global way. So we are part of the World Customs Organization since 1974. That's the World Customs Organization. They have been proven very beneficial to our processes, trust me, because facilitation of trade calls for, you know, that the global way of doing business. Okay, so that's basically an overview of the Customs Department. There is so much more to tell, but too little time. So click to clear. All the billboards around Nassau now have this beautiful customs office, female officer, and this handsome young man. And this click to clear promises to bring you more effective service, more efficient service, more transparent service, and everybody wants to get off the old grid and want to get on this new thing. What is click to clear? Click to clear is a single, they said formerly the Bahamas electronic single window, but it is still a single window. It is modernizing all of our processes. That's all it is. We are not changing anything much. We are just modernizing our processes. We are still governed by the Customs Management Act, and we are still governed by our regulation and our Tariff Act. But what this system promises to do is to facilitate better trade and to make it easier for you as the customer. Because when you come around customs, persons are intimidated. And more than intimidated, sometimes you are frustrated with our processes because it is long, it is drawn out. You bring in a vehicle, you have to go to the shipping agent to collect your papers, and then they tell you need a condition report on the vehicle. So you have to sit down there and wait for the officer. Sometimes they're on coffee break or whatever the case may be. You have to wait. They come out on their own time, and you have to get this conditional report done. And then when you finish with the conditional report, now they tell you have to go to that window and find a broker first, submit the paper in, and all of that. And then it has to be approved by a senior customs officer. Our process is it's long and drawn out. So what this system is designed to do is to make these processes easier, more efficient. So the Bahamas government want to facilitate one access point for traders and businesses within the Bahamas. It will now replace our current electronic data interchange system. So now when you come with your vehicle, in essence, you as the importer, you're going to do this you can do this all by yourself, or you can hire a broker, but you won't have to do the runaround. You will collect your papers from the shipping agent, or they can send it via email to you, which makes it you won't have to move from your desk. You are going to then submit your own declaration to the Customs Department online. Everything is going to be done online. You are going to tell us the condition of your vehicle. So we don't have to physically go out there no more with you, any longer with you, to do a physical inspection of the vehicle prior. Hold on now, let me continue this whole process. Then once you would have done that and you submit this paper to us, okay, we will go ahead and we will check your declaration to ensure that everything you submitted is true and correct, or you declare that it's true and correct. We don't have the online payment portal ready as yet, but you will be able to pay online, never moving from your office or your home. And this is click to clear. And then once you would have paid, you will print out, once you would have paid. Now, right now, this is being used now. Persons are using it if you have things coming via courier service. It is now being used, but we don't have the online payment portals yet. But they now have to take the declaration, the information to one of our cashier anywhere in the Bahamas. Not necessarily just our key or headquarters. Anywhere a cashier is located in Nassau, you can pay anywhere. Okay, so you pay now, but when this is all done, you'll be able to pay online. Now, before we release the vehicle or before we release the shipment to you, this is where the physical inspection, if we have any question or if we have any query or any reason to query your shipment, before we release it to you, even though you would have already paid, we're going to do that physical inspection. Now, if we found out that you made a false declaration,
All hell will break loose.
this is the problem. The difference is, now if you make a false declaration now, we have the discretionary to say, okay, I'm giving you an opportunity to change that. But once you pay, That's it. You made a false declaration. You would have to go through the process of possibly being fined and all of that. So the onus is on you with this, to be honest. It's there for you to use, but the onus is on you to be honest with whatever you collect. But it's supposed to be fast. It's supposed, and all of the, if you have, we do government agencies, we do for agriculture, we do road traffic, we do a whole lot of agency duties. So if you have perishable come in like fruits and vegetables, those, and you need approval from Ministry of Agriculture or wherever, again, you don't have to leave your desk. We would be linked with all of these relevant agencies. You go online, apply for your permit. Even if you have a duty-free, something coming in duty-free through finance, we would be linked, presently linked to finance, and you can get all of that done online prior to moving anywhere. And you can upload all of these things in the system, and everything will be done online. So this is basically what Click to Clear is all about. You can do it yourself. Now, you can do it yourself, or you can continue to use the broker. We are encouraging everybody to register. We're encouraging everybody to register with this system. And this is, you can go to Click to Clear. If you just put in Click to Clear in Google, this would come, definitely this would come up. Our website would come up. I want to encourage you to go on our website. It is very comprehensive. They have a whole lot of information there. Even a duty calculator. If you don't know how to calculate the duty and VAT calculation, there's a little window there for it. Everything is there. We have also, if you don't know tariff codes, we have a search tariff code engine there that you can search, and you can apply whatever tariff code that you need. So to register as an individual, you would need, I think they require just your NIB number, not NIB number, the NIB card. The NIB card, all of the relative information that they're going to ask for, and I think a passport. Okay, for businesses, then you're going to need certificate, your TIN number, compliance certificate, current business license, a broker's license, identification, and the list of clientele. That is for those who own a business. You're going to need all of that to register with Click and Clear. Okay, you must, broker's license also is very important with that. Okay, so that is what you need. All right. So this came about, the Bahamas, this came about, they had a joint venture with the International Development Bank, and they are the sponsors of this whole program. And this has been going on now, I think about for some 5 years. It isn't completed yet, but we are working feverishly on it. And they said by the end of the year, all of the docks and everywhere should be on this system. Now it's all of the cruises, it's the airport area, all of the family islands are online. So they're all working it at this time, okay? So I'm going to have to run through this very quickly. So it's a valid NIB card, a valid passport, or a driver's license, okay? And these are some fine prints. If you go to our website, you can read the fine prints that are under there. Individuals only require users account login if they intend to do their own declaration or your own entries on their behalf. So bear in mind, this is only for those familiar with customs procedure and clearance. But like I said, this system is very easy. It's like you applying for a visa, a U.S. visa. You can figure it out. And like I said to somebody earlier, those little hiccups, call your children or your grandchildren. They will assist you. I'm sure they will assist you. That's what I do all the time. Okay, they will assist you in figuring it out. But you can't do all of this. The intent is not to take away jobs from the brokers or any of that, but it is going to encourage you, because time is money. you come around customs and you wait long. Our procedure is very lengthy, could be very, very lengthy sometimes. And of course, a lot of you believe that a lot of us have a whole lot of attitude, and obviously you don't need that. Okay? She said, especially the females. Oh my
I will be honest, I don't never go to any females, but I learned at LPIA.
Most
never go.
Most people
Never.
do not go to females.
I went to one last week, but I never ever go to females.
But do you know, but females primarily in the majority in customs now.
Yes.
I noticed the time was for the 1 or 2 mediators. There's God thanks for them.
Oh gosh. Okay.
Hell, it's not like down to them. Oh no, sir.
Okay, so if you're a company, you can register. Like I said, this won't be ready as yet until the end of the year. But there is something now we are going into, because the time is so short. I want to just go into. I hand out a little thing about rate of duty, a little brochure about rate of duty. Okay, so let's go into. You can help me here. Go back to my file. And pull up frequently imported goods. Frequently imported. Right there. Okay, so how do we go about calculating duty? How do we go about calculating duty? How do we go about accessing VAT and all of that? You had a very comprehensive talk on VAT and all of that. So how do we go about all of that? And then right after this, I'll entertain any questions you may have. We got about 5 minutes.
Even 5 minutes might be stretching.
Okay.
You wanna go?
Slide it right back down to the top, right after the first page. No, you're going too far down.
Okay, too hard also.
Go back to the top. Right there.
Okay.
Okay, how do we calculate VAT? It's very important. And this is, for instance, coming through the airport, you call it unaccompanied or accompanied baggage. That's what you go. You're going to have your accompanied bags with you, okay? Let's say you declare you have a television. You paid $600 for the television, okay? You know your exemption is $500. So you're going to claim your exemption, but you're going to pay on the $100, okay? So what the officer should do is say television, $100. The duty is 35%. There is an environmental levy charge of $5 that we collect on behalf of Housing and Environment Ministry. And then you would arrive at the total landed cost of $140. Then we apply this $140, we apply the 12% to. Okay? Everybody got that? That's how it's done. So you will actually be paying the $35 duty, the $5 environmental levy, and the $16.80 VAT. So when Mrs. Elaine spoke about collecting duty on VAT, that is how it is done. Okay? That is how it is. That is how it is applied. Okay, let's go to the next page. Whether it's accompanied or unaccompanied.
But you don't have the $500 exemption.
You don't have the $500 exemption. By the way, if unaccompanied, let's say your bag was left in Miami. All right? and you want, that's unaccompanied. You are not entitled to claim exemption on unaccompanied. Now, most of the time, hold on. Most of the I'm telling you.
That's why I asked that question.
Most of the time, because we as officers, we use our discretion. We know that you've been away, and we know that you shot, and we know that we can prove that you really left this bag. A lot of times they allow you to have the balance of it under your exemption. But they don't have to do it, because if they abide by the law, you should be collecting duty on everything that is in that bag. But the good thing is, the airlines are limited now with what you can bring. So most of you now have to ship most of your stuff. So we collect by shipping. We are collecting more. We are collecting more now in customs duties than we used to in the past, because the airlines have kind of streamlined, the amount, or you're going to pay a whole lot. You're going to pay a whole lot in their freight, $60 a bag or all of that. So
45.
Bahamas Air.
45.
Okay. So now this is the courier service, because a lot of you use I don't think Express It has another name now, or Shipping, all of those. So now this is what happens. The C-17 and C-18 is slightly different. So your TV now valued at $400. Okay, so your duty at 35% is $140. Now you're going to have to pay a 1% processing fee here. You're going to have to pay a 1% processing fee, okay? Which is no, the 1% processing fee is the $10 up to $1,000. So it's up to $1,000. Okay, so
Maybe $4.
so no, up to $1,000. So the minimum is $10. Sorry, the minimum is $10. Okay. Now once you go over $1,000, then we start applying the exact 1%.
Okay.
So they ain't collecting no less than $10.
They ain't collecting no less than $10 processing fee.
All right, okay, go on.
Okay? Then there's the environmental levy on the television is $5 per television. Okay? Then if you have storage fees if let's say you didn't pick it up within 5 working days and customs supply storage fees to it, we're going to put $3 here, $3 storage fees. That would be added in there too. Your freight, insurance, and any other charges, what may be on your shipping paper, what we can see, or what we can find, we're going to add that in too, which would, let's say in this case, it's $110. So now that brings your total landed cost to $655. All right? So the amount you're now going to pay is $234.80, paying the $140, the $10, the $5, and the VAT, which is $79.80.
Man, go buy a plane ticket, bring it back.
Okay? Let's go to the next page. Everybody understand? Y'all are math teachers.
Yeah, we can do like that. JHS are
Okay.
This one up? Yeah.
So let's say this is a vehicle. This is a vehicle.
Okay.
Very frequently imported item. We have our process is it's long and drawn out. So what this system is designed to do is to make these processes easier, more efficient. So the Bahamas government want to facilitate one access point for traders and businesses within the Bahamas. It will now replace our current electronic data interchange system. So now when you come with your vehicle, in essence, you as the importer, you're going to do this you can do this all by yourself, or you can hire a broker. But you won't have to do the runaround. You will collect your papers from the shipping agent, or they can send it via email to you, which makes it even, you won't have to move from your desk. You are going to then create your own, submit your own declaration to the Customs Department online. Everything is going to be done online. You are going to tell us the condition of your vehicle. So we don't have to physically go out there no more with you, any longer with you, to do, exactly, to do a physical inspection of the vehicle prior. Hold on now, let me continue this whole process. Then once you would have done that and you submit these papers to us, okay, we will go ahead and we will check your declaration to ensure that everything you submitted is true and correct, or you declare that it's true and correct. We don't have the online payment portal ready as yet, but you will be able to pay online, never moving from your office or your home. And this is click to clear. And then once you would have paid, you will print out, once you would have paid, now right now, this is being used now. Persons are using it if you have things coming via courier service. It is now being used, but we don't have the online payment portals yet. But they now have to take the declaration, the information to one of our cashier anywhere in the Bahamas. Not necessarily just Arawak Key or headquarters. Anywhere a cashier is located in Nassau, you can pay anywhere. Okay, so you pay now, but when this is all done, you'll be able to pay online. Now, before we release the vehicle or before we release the shipment to you, this is where the physical inspection, if we have any question or if we have any query or any reason to query your shipment, before we release it to you, even though you would have already paid, we're going to do that physical inspection. Now, if we found out that you made a false declaration, this is the problem. Before, the difference is, now if you make a false declaration now, we have the discretionary to say, okay, I'm giving you an opportunity to change that. But once you pay, that's it. You made a false declaration. You would have to go through the process of possibly being fined and all of that. So the onus is on you with this, to be honest. It's there for you to use, but the onus is on you to be honest with whatever you collect. But it's supposed to be fast. It's supposed, and all of the, if you have, we do government agencies, we do for agriculture, we do road traffic, we do a whole lot of agency duties. So if you have perishable come in, like fruits and vegetables, those, and you need approval from Ministry of Agriculture or wherever, again, you don't have to leave your desk. We would be linked with all of these relevant agencies. You go online, apply for your permit. Even if you have a duty-free, something coming in duty-free through finance, we would be linked, presently linked to finance, and you can get all of that done online prior to moving anywhere. And you can upload all of these things in the system, and everything will be done online. So this is basically what Click to Clear is all about. You can do it yourself. Now, you can do it yourself, or you can continue to use the broker. We are encouraging everybody to register. With this system. And this is, you can go to Click to Clear. If you just put in Click to Clear in Google, this would come, definitely this would come up. Our website would come up. I want to encourage you to go on our website. It is very comprehensive. They have a whole lot of information there. Even a duty calculator. If you don't know how to calculate the duty and VAT calculation, there's a little window there for it. Everything is there. We have also, if you don't know tariff codes, we have a search tariff code engine there that you can search, and you can apply whatever tariff code that you need. So to register as an individual, you would need, as an individual, you would need, I think they require just your NIB number, not NIB number, the NIB card. The NIB card, all of the relative information that they're going to ask for, and I think a passport. Okay, for businesses, then you're going to need certificate, your TIN number, compliance certificate, current business license, a broker's license, identification, and the list of clientele. That is for those who own a business. You're going to need all of that to register with Click and Clear. Okay, you must, broker's license also is very important with that. Okay, so that is what you need. All right. So this came about, the Bahamas, this came about, they had a joint venture with the International Development Bank, and they are the sponsors of this whole program. And this has been going on now, I think about for some 5 years. It isn't completed yet, but we are working feverishly on it. And they said by the end of the year, all of the docks and everywhere should be on this system. Now it's all of the cruises, it's the airport area, all of the family islands are online. So they're all working it at this time, okay? So I'm going to have to run through this very quickly. So it's a valid NIB card, a valid passport or a driver's license, okay? And these are some fine prints. If you go to our website, you can read the fine prints that are under there. Individuals only require users account login if they intend to do their own declaration or your own entries on their behalf. So bear in mind, this is only for those familiar with customs procedure and clearance. But like I said, this system is very easy. It's like you applying for a visa, a U.S. visa. You can figure it out. And like I said to somebody earlier, those little hiccups, call your children or your grandchildren. They will assist you. I'm sure they will assist you. That's what I do all the time. Okay, they will assist you in figuring it out. But you can't do all of this. The intent is not to take away jobs from the brokers or any of that. But it is going to encourage you, because time is money. You come around customs and you wait long. Our procedure is very lengthy. It could be very, very lengthy sometimes. And of course, a lot of you believe that a lot of us have a whole lot of attitude. And obviously, you don't need that. Okay? She said, especially the females.
I will be honest, I don't never go to any females when I learn at LPIA.
Most people do not go to females.
I went to one last week, but I never ever go to females.
But do you know, but females primarily in the majority in customs now.
Yes.
I noticed. But time go for the 1 or 2 mediators. They've got times for them.
Oh gosh. Okay.
Oh no, sir.
Okay, so if you're a company, you can register. Like I said, this won't be ready as yet until the end of the year. But there is something now we are going into, because the time is so short. I want to just go into. I hand out a little thing about rate of duty, a little brochure about rate of duty. Okay, so let's go into. You can help me here. Go back to my file. And pull up frequently imported goods. Frequently imported, right there. Okay, so how do we go about calculating duty? How do we go about calculating duty? How do we go about assessing VAT and all of that? You have a very comprehensive talk on VAT and all of that. So how do we go about all of that? And then right after this, I'll entertain any questions you may have. We got about 5 minutes.
I'll give you 5 minutes while you're stretching.
Okay.
You wanna go?
Slide it right back down to the top, right up to the first page. No, you're going too far down.
Okay, too hard, I'm sorry.
Go back to the top. Right there.
Okay.
Okay, how do we calculate VAT? It's very important. And this is for instance, coming through the airport, we call it unaccompanied or accompanied baggage. That's what you're going to have your accompanied bags with you, okay? Let's say you declare you have a television. You paid $600 for the television, okay? You know your exemption is $500. So you're going to claim your exemption, but you're going to pay on the $100, okay? So what the officer should do is say television, $100. The duty is 35%. There is an environmental levy charge of $5 that we collect on behalf of Housing and Environment Ministry. And then you would arrive at the total landed cost of $140. Then we apply this $140, we apply the 12% too. Okay? Everybody got that? That's how it's done. So you will actually be paying the $35 duty, the $5 environmental levy, and the $16.80 VAT. So when Mrs. Elaine spoke about collecting duty on VAT, that is how it is done. Okay? That is how it is. That is how it is applied. Okay, let's go to the next page. Whether it's accompanied or unaccompanied.
But you don't have the $500 exemption.
You don't have the $500 exemption. By the way, if unaccompanied, let's say your bag was left in Miami. All right? And you want, that's unaccompanied. You are not entitled to claim exemption on unaccompanied. Now, most of the time, hold on. Most of the I'm telling you.
That's why I asked that question.
Most of the time, because we as officers, we use our discretion. We know that you've been away, and we know that you shot, and we know that we can prove that you really left this bag. A lot of times they allow you to have the balance of it under your exemption, but they don't have to do it, because if they abide by the law, you should be collecting duty on everything that is in that bag. But the good thing is, the airlines are limited now with what you can bring, so most of you now have to ship most of your stuff. So we collect by shipping. We are collecting more. We are collecting more now in customs duties than we used to in the past, because the airlines have kind of streamlined, the amount, or you're going to pay a whole lot. You're going to pay a whole lot in their freight, $60 a bag or all of that. So
45.
Bahamas there.
45.
Okay. So now this is the courier service, because a lot of you use I don't think Express It has another name now, or Ship It, all of those. So now this is what happens. The C-17 and C-18 is slightly different. So your TV now value at $400. Okay, so your duty at 35% is $140. Now you're going to have to pay a 1% processing fee here. You're going to have to pay a 1% processing fee, okay? Which is no, the 1% processing fee is the $10 up to $1,000.
So it's
up to $1,000. Okay,
Should that
so,
be $4?
no, up to $1,000.
So the minimum
And
is-
it's the minimum, the
minimum is
minimum, the
$10.
minimum is $10. Sorry, the minimum
$1,000.
is $10. Okay?
Anything from $1
Now, once you go
to
$1,000, then we start applying the exact 1%.
Okay. Ah,
So they ain't collecting no less than $10.
They ain't collecting no less than $10 processing fee.
All right, okay, go on.
Okay? Then there's the environmental levy on the television is $5 per television. Okay? Then if you have storage fees if let's say you didn't pick it up within 5 working days and customs apply storage fees to it, we're going to put $3 here, $3 storage fees. That would be added in there too. Your freight, insurance, and any other charges, what may be on your shipping paper, what we can see, or what we can find, we're going to add that in too, which would, let's say in this case, it's $110. So now that bring your total landed cost to $655. All right? So the amount you're now going to pay is $234.80, paying the $140, the $10, the $5, and the VAT, which is $79.80.
Man, go buy a plane ticket, bring it back.
Okay? Let's go to the next page. Everybody understand? Y'all are math teachers.
Yeah, we can do like that.
Like 50%?
JHS are
This one up? Yeah.
So let's say this is a vehicle. This is a vehicle.
Okay.
Very frequently imported item. We have.
So you pay for the car twice.
But it is, well, it's up to you. You can also, but bear in mind, even if you purchase the car locally, like the lady said, you are still paying all of these fees because it's going to be passed on to you. I don't care how the cookie crumbles. These charges will be passed on to you, even if you buy it here locally. Okay, I must stop now. I see she stand up.
She can sit down. One question. I got one question.
One or two questions.
Say question.
All right. First question. How do you all treat returning students and residents?
Good question. If you've been away for a period of 2 years or more away from the Bahamas, whether you've been enrolled in studies or you have just been working or living abroad, when you return, you are entitled to up to $10,000 in a duty of exemption of your personal goods. You are also entitled with that $10,000. You're allowed to bring in one car, duty exempted, value up to $30,000. Doesn't matter if the car is, we didn't put any kind of stipulation in there whether the car should be new or used.
Yeah.
But bear in mind, we don't do this approval. The approval goes through Ministry of Finance.
Okay.
But they, 100% of the time, once you can prove that you've been abroad for 2 years or more, they normally approve that without any incident. Normally approve that.
Yeah.
Okay. That's it.
Claire, just to clarify.
Click to Claire.
Yeah, that only applies to goods that imported, not accompanied goods. Yes or no?
Not accompanied goods. Good question. Not accompanied goods. Click to Claire does not apply if you're coming in through the airport as a passenger. That does not apply. Does not apply.
Second question, with the VAT and so forth, I bring in something that's worth $1,000. I apply my 500 exemption to that. So I only pay VAT
On the balance. You do not pay on the $1,000. You only pay on the $500. VAT and customs on the balance only. Not, you don't, okay? Because we don't, that $500, you're exempted. We don't touch that anymore. We only calculate on the balance. Okay?
I heard you said that students are away abroad that you.
Yes, you have up to $10,000 exemption in your personal goods and one vehicle value up to $30,000.
So what about the babies that I hear that may not have gone away that year?
I understand that question.
If you just go away, you have to be living away for 2 consecutive years. Consecutive 2 or more consecutive years, and you're entitled to it every 5 years.
Sorry, what you say about
You are entitled to it. Let's say every 5 years you can apply for that exemption.
Every 5 years.
Every 5 years you can apply for that exemption.
This year, yeah.
Form to fill out. And it's
Every 5
done.
years, I
Back
get
this way.
Yes.
No, Mr. Miller. and then-
Yeah,
Claim.
And then the last question.
Question, what is the duty on gasoline? And why is it such a vast price between our
I can, okay, go on.
see, why I'm saying that, right? And do they charge VAT on that import gasoline?
Yes.
Because there's a huge disparity in the pricing. So I am wondering because, and thing is, we are all hurting from that.
Yes,
It's-
there is duty on gasoline.
I
I think it's it's $1.15 per US gallon. It's right here. It's $1.15 per US gallon. What that's the specific rate. Is there an ad valorem? There's off the value also. Just $1. Yes. Okay. Yes, $1. Yes. $1.15 per US gallon.
Plus, there are some other things.
Okay.
So our last question.
This isn't, yes. This is online, please. You can, I just print this just for that short exercise. This is online. Listen, we have a disclaimer here, so some 1 or 2 little errors may be in this, okay? But not much. You know, it's almost, you can, almost take it to the bank, but don't take it to the bank.
I want to know, do we pay duty and custom on duty-free items? Oh, the VAT.
Yes,
you pay VAT on duty-free
yes,
items?
you pay VAT on duty-free items. You're not exempt from VAT from anything. VAT is applicable to every charge, everything. Even if it's duty-free, you're going to pay the VAT on it.
There was some things about free in the food store.
Some things are VAT-free in the food store, yes. You have mainly the bread basket items. You have all of your rice, your sugars, corned beef, tunas, cream, and all of those things. They are VAT-free.
At the
Yes,
food store, and when you bring it in there.
they are VAT-free. They are VAT-free. I don't know how much more I can entertain. Sure.
So Ms. Wilson will be with us, so you can ask her your questions one-on-one. But at this time, let's say a very quick thank you, Mrs. Wilson.
No problem.
What we're gonna do now, we're going to break for lunch. We will come back together at 12:45 for our 3rd and final session of the day. Thank you so much. Good afternoon again. Good afternoon. While we wait for Mr. Joaquin, we do have another speaker that's going to come to us, Mrs. Katrina Wims from Family Guardian. Please welcome her as she
Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon. I just want to say a very special thank you for the opportunity to speak to you briefly about my company's products and services. First of all, I'll start with a quick introduction. My name is Katrina Wims. I'm an executive agent at Family Guardian Financial Center. My office is located in East Bay and Church Street. That's the old IBM building. Some of you may be familiar with that building. Bahama Health is the leading major medical carrier in the country. I have a lot of group clients. I have a lot of individual clients, and I'm hoping for those of you that were so kind to give me your name and contact, I have the opportunity to speak to you on literally a broad range of financial services products. Family Guardian offers mortgages. Family Guardian offers Bahama Health, individual and group. Family Guardian offers general insurance. You might ask, what is general insurance? General insurance is your car insurance, your house insurance, liability insurance, marine insurance, right down to the very money that most businesses collect and distribute to their customers. We call that bond insurance. Your money could be insured. A lot of people don't know that. But yes, but insurance can protect any possible risk that you may encounter. As you know, we're in the hurricane season, and it's important to have your home, especially your home and your vehicles, of course, as you know, to be on the road. Your cars must be insured. But what I say is, what is far more important, in my opinion, than your home and your car is your life and your health. And that's the two things, and I specialize in that literally. They're the two things that persons tend to take for granted. Let me say here, ladies and gents, that every single one of us, as God continue to bless us from day in, day out, we're gonna get older. We're gonna approach the age of 65, 75, 85, some of us 95, some of us 105, right in this room. The question is, how many of you are financially prepared for those years when your employer is going to send you home? Believe me, ladies and gents, every single one of us, including me, at some point, the employer is going to say, see you later, thank you for your services. Have you made financial preparations for those years? For many of us, it's exactly when you reach 65. You have literally 25 to 30 years of no income. When you reach 65, the average Bahamian woman, statistically, is expected to live to age 85. Regardless of diabetes, regardless of hypertension, regardless of all the things that we women go through, we're still living longer. How many of us are prepared for those years when our employer is going to send us home? This is what I specialize in. There are hundreds and thousands of agents that work in this country that do not care about your retirement years. They just want to sell you a policy. That's not Katrina Wims. That's not Katrina Wims. My clients, if I can encourage them to save $25 a month, you'll be surprised to know. I have clients who start their new say, all I have is $25. I say, bring it to me. Bring it to me. And that $25, every couple of months I give them a call. I say, come, I see you put no money in this annuity, come bring some money for me. Now, that $25 is $30,000 savings, $40,000 savings. Some people just have to be in the habit of savings, developing good habits. Listen to me, ladies and gents. There are millionaires that walk right among you. Bahamians are millionaires walking right among you. You're looking at a young lady that's debt-free. I bought a duplex at the age of 26. I expanded that, turned it into a triplex. Some 20 years later, y'all work it out. Duplex paid for, triplex paid for. Debt-free. And I won't tell you how much I have saved. Right? But my passion is seeing it doesn't matter who you are. It doesn't matter what you have. All I'm asking you to do is to make a sacrifice for your own future. My son is 27 years old. He's a manager over to Atlantis. When he first got the job, listen to this, it's a true story. When my son first got the job, he was called straight out of Jordan Prince Will to Atlantis to be a busboy at Cafe Martinique at the age of 18. Graduating from Jordan Prince Will, 3 months later, Cafe Martinique called him, we want you as a busboy. He stayed there for about 4 years. While he was there, I had deducted out of his pay $50 every week. Every week. He didn't even know what that was coming out for. No joke. This is real. He moved from Cafe Martinique, went into dinner reservations. When I see him got a little promotion, I say, you're taking this deduction in, putting this to $100 a week. Oh yeah. You gotta make way for your children. You have to make way for your children because with VAT and all these other things that are coming, WTO, it's gonna get tough. You gotta be prepared for this global village, and it is a global village, ladies and gents. Believe me. You gotta prepare yourself for your retirement years. You have to plan for it. And if you do not plan for it, believe me when I tell you, NIB is not gonna be enough to take care of you. NIB, a lot of people that I've spoken to said, NIB can take care of me. NIB can take care of you, really. NIB can't even pay your light bill. Some people's light bill costs more than their NIB contribution, and this is no joke. Ladies and gents, please, for those of you that have not given me your names and numbers, last week I was at invited to UB. Now, I'm a student of UB. I'm a part-time law student there, right? I didn't give you all a little intro bio, right? But let me do that. You know, I've worked in the insurance industry for 22 years. I mean, I look like only 19, yes. But I've been in this industry a long time, and more importantly, I love what I do. I care about my clients in ways you won't believe. I'm the type of person that if I see your policy running behind and it's not paying on time, I'm gonna call you, I'm gonna send you a voice note. You know, voice note, most people when they get them, they just want to listen to it because they don't know what it is. So I shoot out a voice note, come into the office and pay your policy, please, now. And they come in, right? Let me just say this. 22 years in the insurance industry. 15 of those 22 years I was in senior management. I was a sales manager at British American for 15 years and a branch manager at Kalina for 2 years. I didn't like Kalina's products, I have to admit. Kalina's products, a lot of people don't realize this. I know I may be some persons in here. Let me say this, please. I gotta say this. Because I really believe in value for money. I really believe in value for money. But after having worked there, I couldn't wait to get out there. Kalina pays the lowest, literally pennies on the dollar on savings on your policy in comparison to any other company. And when you think you have a good policy and you put in XYZ premium, I say to my clients, put that same premium into my company and watch your returns grow. The exact same thing. But 9 times out of 10, most payments say, I don't even want to hear it. I say, okay, fine. That's fine. I believe in giving people value for money. If you say to me, Ms. Williams, $100 is all I have, I'm going to give you the absolute best that $100 can give you, can return to you. That's the type of agent I am. And I separate myself from any agent in this industry. I consider myself the best amongst the best. No joke. No joke. I worked, last week Tuesday I was invited to UB. About 100, almost 200 faculty and staff at a seminar, all-day seminar. And I already have a number of professors there that are my clients. They're senior executives, they're all my clients, right? And when I went there, the persons were lined up, literally, because word is getting out, Family Guardian is the company, not just any agent, Katrina Williams is the agent. Literally. Literally. Of the professors, this is just last week, Thursday, 4 of them already called me. They didn't even wait for me to call them, they called me. One coming to meet this evening, tomorrow, line right up. If I had 10 of me to go around, I would share it around because you have to have a love for people. You have to want the best for people. In the span of 2 weeks in the month of July, the end of July and December, 2 of my clients died. One died of a massive heart attack while sleeping, 47-year-old male. And he have a son still in school. I'm telling you, before he was buried, his wife had his check in her hand. One of my other clients, mother pays his policy. For those of you that have sons, put your sons in insurance. When my son was, 12, 13, he had a $200,000 policy. My son, 27, he had a $300,000 policy, and guess who owned that policy? You gotta do this. You gotta do this. You have to protect your family. You have to make way for them. Whether they understand insurance, know what insurance, make provisions to protect your family. You ain't gonna watch your children every day. You can't watch them when they grow up every day. Insure your children. Make sure they have medical insurance. Make the sacrifices to protect your family. That's the one responsibility God gave you, to protect your own. And if everybody did a good job at just protecting their own, this country would be a far better place. No joke. Everybody just sending their children out there for the world to swallow them up and spit them out. If you do not teach your children how to save, to get a property, to purchase a home, if you do not teach your children how to save, who will? Please. Our planned speakers here. I wanted to come on the scene, impromptu. Please, ladies and gents, if you haven't done so already, I'm a person I love to give. I just get goosebumps when I give to people. I love to give. My son always fussing me, Mommy, you like to give so much. Mommy, you know, but it makes me feel good. And God has blessed me with, listen, I've been with my company for 6 years, going on 6 years. I have one of the largest portfolios in my company right now. I deal with the doctors, the lawyers, the judges. I deal with the professors, the directors, the VPs. I deal with every level. Believe me when I tell you that. Most of my clients are doctors and lawyers, believe it or not. Most. 60% of my portfolio are entrepreneurs. So please, I wanted to be here today. I wanted to see you today. And I'm happy that you gave me an opportunity to meet with you. And if you haven't received my card, I have more than enough at the back. But please, give me your name and number. I will call you, but I want you to take a few minutes of your busy life. And boy, we get busy, eh? To come and see me for a few minutes. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you very much, Ms. Williams. Let's go straight into our next speaker, Mr. Craig Joaquin.
Good afternoon. My sincere apologies. And it's a long story, but the short of it is, I have another function tomorrow with some teachers, and I swore this was that. So when Miguel called me last week, I said, somebody already told me about it. He said, okay, fine, we're all happy and ready to go. So I was thinking this was that same function, so my apologies for that. I hate being late, I'm never late. Right, but Lord knows all things, except today, yeah. But no, I ain't late, I'm supposed to be here right now to tell y'all some stuff. Okay, so my name is Craig, with Outdoor Fitness Bahamas. Been doing this about 9 years. It's what I do full time. Prior to that, I was in retail, and I had no idea I would end up in fitness, but everything works out. So there's a lesson there, guys. No matter, the route is circuitous sometimes, but you always will end up where you're supposed to be, where your passion is. I believe if you're doing what you're supposed to be doing. So, what I talk about and what I'm passionate about is speaking to groups like this about the importance of fitness, how you get and maintain fitness, and also to bring to light some issues, some serious issues we have locally. Okay, and the biggest issue, guys, and you will have seen the stats, but I think it's even more disturbing now. The most recent Ministry of Health stat says that 7 out of 10 Bahamians are either overweight or obese, right? And the minister the other day says it's leaning towards 80%. So it's getting worse, right? Now I want to try to paint a picture for you to let you know how bad that is. So 7 out of 10, are y'all in this room? Overweight or obese? But look at me, don't look around. Don't look around, straight at me, please. Some people look like this. Straight at me. All right? So that's the first thing. All right, the second thing, just to put it in perspective for you, is that 4 times as many people in our country die as a result of non-communicable diseases, right? That means lifestyle diseases, than the amount of people who are murdered. Guess what gets all the headlines? If 100 people die, we up in arms, we gotta pray, we got everything else. But 400 to 500 people die needlessly by killing themselves by their lifestyle, right? That's startling. So really the issue, guys, isn't the guns and the knives, right? We're killing ourselves. I can hear talking up here, and I way up here. So you know you're a little loud. The weapons we're killing ourselves with the fork, the knife, and the chair.
Yeah.
Those are our weapons of mass destruction, right? I want you to think about that, guys. Someone shoots a gun, someone kills somebody, someone stabs somebody, that's horrendous, of course. But 4 times to 5 times as many people kill themselves. We kill them sitting at home watching TV, eating all kind of food, just buying everything out all day, eating poorly, right? And that's sad. And you know the biggest issue with that is that our kids see this, and so they come up, we're rearing obese kids. And we all know it's not like when we were growing up, guys. We were active, we were outdoors. Now it's a computer. Now they just stay inside. They don't move. So we're rearing obese kids. So I shudder to think if we don't arrest this problem, what our country will be like in 15, 20 years. It's crazy. I want you to think about it. Right? The stress on the healthcare system, which is already burdened. Right? The personal medical costs. Like people always say to me, it's so expensive to eat well. And that's not true in any event. But I want you to think about, you're either going to pay now or you can pay a whole lot more later. But we'll get to that. All right, so we are in trouble. Right, I remember one time going to the Ministry of Tourism, the slogan was, it's better in the Bahamas. I submit that now, it's fatter in the Bahamas. I don't say promote that, but that's the truth. Right, we are the highest in the region, all the Caribbean countries, guys, in the incidences of diabetes, hypertension, some forms of cancer. We have that distinction. That's scary. That's scary. And the biggest issue is that it's something that we can do something about. So we all know the facts. We know that we should be doing more. We know we don't eat like we should. We know we don't move as much as we should. So why aren't we doing it? And what are the reasons you think I hear all the time? Give me a couple.
Busy.
Time. Busy. The lady just now was talking about people always busy. Yeah. You said tiredness. Well, busy, tiredness. Yeah. Something is too expensive. Right? So part of what I do is dispel all of that for you. Because it's rubbish. They really are just excuses. Right? Now, in your mind, they may be legitimate, but I'm going to show you how it's not. And let's start with the don't have time issue first of all. You don't need an hour to stay active, to get active. You don't need 30 minutes. You don't need 10 minutes. I'm going to suggest a couple of exercise formats to you, and then we'll talk a little bit about nutrition. That you can be fit, healthy, guys, in as little as 4 minutes a day. Right? And I'm going to show you that 4-minute format, and you're going to do it. All dressed up just how you are. You're going to do it, that's right. And you'll see, you may be reading a little hard and think, but you'll see, I'm just going to give you an overview. Right? And then there's even a format that I would suggest. There's even what I call a 1-minute format, guys, that you can do daily that goes a long way in terms of helping you to remain fit. You just have to commit to it. I want you to see the fact that, if you're not eating healthy, if you're not moving, I want you to see that path ahead, guys, right? Where you're potentially hospitalized, where you're dependent on somebody to do everything for you, where you're spending $70, $80, $90, $100, $200 a month on medications. That's not good. And it's never too late, even if you're on medications now for various illnesses, right? Just by being healthier, guys, you help yourself in the long run. It's that important. All right, so the first thing, let's talk about the 1-minute fitness format that I talk about. And most of you probably sit most of the day during your work or jobs. No, teacher, that's right, it's true. Wait, listen, y'all supposed to be fit, what's wrong with y'all? So being in a classroom setting, you're standing for sure, so you're fairly active. So then the onus becomes on you to use whatever time you have available, either at school, your lunchtime maybe, and I'll show you, don't panic. And a lot of people say, but I have to do all these kind of runs, I got to do all these kind of things. Well, then do it at home. Or either early morning, do it when you come home, right? But you have to make time for yourself. That's the first thing I want to say. You have to prioritize yourself, guys. And that sounds so like you hear it all the time, but that's the fact of the matter. You take care of everyone else, your kids, other family members, your bosses, but you don't spend any time on yourself. How'd that go? Makes no sense at all. If you're not able to take care of yourself, you won't be there to provide for anybody else. Okay? So here's what I would like to suggest. 1 minute, and again, you have breaks in between classes, but every hour during the day, guys, while you're out, I want you to do a particular exercise for 1 minute. right? So just keep that in mind. Hold on to that thought, and I'll tell you what some of the exercises are. And then the other one would be the 4 minutes format that you have to do at home. You could even do it at school, right? It doesn't matter. But, so the thing with exercising is you don't need to do 20 exercises. You only need 4 basic exercises, okay? You don't need equipment. The best piece of equipment you have is your body weight. All right, I'm gonna show you 4 exercises that you can do all the time, guys. When you have a minute to spare, just do it, just do it. It makes a huge difference. I have clients now who started doing that. And now what happens is they want to do more, they feel better. So now they're doing 5 minutes, 10 minutes, etc., right? And that's how you build your fitness. So whenever you're doing an exercise program, you really only need 4 exercises. You need to focus on 4 areas. An upper body exercise, a lower body exercise, a core or abdominal exercise, and a cardiovascular exercise. That's it. Upper, lower, core, and cardio. You don't need nothing else with any fancy names. All right, and I'm gonna show you some exercises you can do without any equipment for each of those muscle groups, each of those body parts. Upper body strength, arms, shoulders, chest, guys, very important. Here are some exercises you can do without any equipment. Matter of fact, put them papers down. Let's stand up. Let me have you do a couple things. This is the demo part. Yeah, y'all need to get up anyhow. So we're talking about upper body, guys. Here's what I want you to do. Very simple. Put both, watch me. Put both hands together just like you're praying in front of your chest. Okay, and all I want you to do is just press in as hard as you can for 15 seconds. So you just get it like, you can go like this, but I want you to press as hard as you can. 3, 2, 1, go. Press, go. 15, 14, 13. Push. You should be trembling if you're going hard enough. Good. 9, 8. Push them in. 7, 6. Push. 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Okay, let go. Where did you feel it? Here, and my chest. Ah, okay. No, say that. Some of y'all tired already. All right, second one. Watch me. Just interlock those fingers like this in front of your chest again. Now, instead of a pushing action, doing a pulling action. Same thing. Pull out as hard as you can, but don't let go. 3, 2, 1, go. Pull, pull, pull. Come on, hard as you can. Let's go, just like that. 12, 11, 10, come on. 9, pull. 8, 7 seconds. 6, come on. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Where did you feel that? My point is, you're feeling some muscle activation, right? Okay, good. So that's the upper body. Here's another upper body you can do. Very simple, guys. The shoulder presses. If you're at work, you'd put something in your hands. If not, palms flat. This works your shoulders and upper back. Just press them up and down. 3, 2, 1, go. Here we go. All the way up. Full extensions. Keep the palms flat so you get a little stretch in the forearms. Good. Just like that. 10, 9, 8, 7 seconds. Come on. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. That's primarily shoulders. Awesome. We just did 3 upper body exercises. All right, quickly. Lower body. And by the way, your hips and your thighs are the largest muscles in your body. All right? So they can take them. You need to work them, guys. 3 lower body exercise, guys. First one is the basic squat, and you do this all day. Right? No. Someone say, oh, no. All you're doing, listen up. All you're doing is sitting down, standing up. What's the problem? You do it all day anyhow. Here's a squat. Watch me. You're doing squats. You can do this in chair. You do it, huh? You can do this in chair, right? Absolutely. You gotta come back up. All right, so let's get ready, guys. 10 seconds of squats. Just find your chair. If you don't have a chair, just push it. If you don't have a chair, guys, just push your hips back like you're sitting in a chair and come back up. All right, but other than that, I want you to sit for a second, stand back. We're doing 10 seconds. Ready? 3, 2, 1, go. Good. Come up. Good. Sit. Come up. Come on. Good. Couple more. That's it. Come on. One more. All right. Good job. Excellent. Come on. Listen, I was dead late. Hurry up. All right. The other lower body, guys. Simple calf raise, just going up on your toes, hands in your waist, just totally up and down, right? All right, 10 seconds, ready, go. Good. Stretch them out. Good, your calf muscles, guys, they take you around all day. Good, but now you're just focusing on them. Here we go. 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Awesome, good. Third one, actually, for low body is where you're seated. All right, just really focus on the thighs. You can do this, but don't sit all the way back. Just come up a little further. And all you call it's called a leg extension or knee extension. All you're doing is bending and straightening out this knee. Just like that. This muscle here, you hit the quadriceps. No, that's okay. That's all right. You don't have space. That's all right. I just want to show you guys. All right. So what are you doing? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. That's all right. We can put it together in 4 minutes. All right. So let's go. I'm going to show you 2 core exercises. And this is the problem area for most of us guys. Most of the fat settles right here. All right. So and let me dispel something else for you. You could do all the core work in the world, but if you're not eating properly, this ain't going nowhere. Right? Because everybody in here has developed abdominal muscles. Now, if you was the idea is to try to get underneath that, right? If we can get the fat off the top, 6-pack, 8-pack, 11-pack, right there. Seriously, because you use your core so often. So let me show you 2 exercises you can do for your core, guys, at home. Right? Some people say they have a bad back. You don't have to go on the ground to do core exercise. I'll show you both. Here's what, and I hope you can see me from where you are. Here's what a ground crunch looks like, right? And there's a significant difference between a crunch and a sit-up. We don't do sit-ups anymore. All right, remember when we was in PE days, have we doing this? Yeah. Right? All kind of things wrong with that, right? So you do a crunch, guys, so you don't come all the way up, you're not putting all the strain on your back. All you do is simply getting your back off the ground, 6 inches maybe, hands on the side of your head, not pulling your neck. So here's what a crunch looks like, an effective crunch. Hands on the side of your head, this. That's all you're doing. You're feeling it right here. All right? A second one you can do on the ground, guys, is a simple bicycle crunch. Same concept. Opposite elbow, opposite knee. Opposite elbow, opposite knee. Now, if you can't go on the ground, let's say you have a bad back. Fine. Here's what you're going to do. Some standing option, guys, to work your core. Hands up, right? And all you're going to do is you're going to pull the hands down while you bring your knees up. You're going to lean forward. You're going to feel the crunch right in the center here. It looks like this. This. Every time you bring your knee up, you're working those lower abs. When you lean forward, you get those upper abs. And you got some space, let's do it quickly. Hands up. So watch me now. You're going to bring them forward, you're going to crunch forward. This. All right? 3, 2, 1, go. Crunch. Come on, y'all. Come on, pull them down. Good. Stay there. Good. Lean forward. Good. 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Stay standing. Same thing. Don't make it a noise. Bicycle crunches. Hands here. Opposite elbow, opposite. I'm amazed how many times we do this and people don't know that the opposite. Watch me. Opposite elbow, opposite knee. Hands up here. And listen, I just said, watch a couple people said this. Opposite elbow, opposite. Do that. This, right? Yeah. You see? So just think about it, guys. What you're doing, what this exercise does, guys, you're working not only upper and lower body, but coming across, you're working here, the obliques, the love handle. So it looks like this. Opposite elbow, opposite knee, guys. Get your heart rate up, then you work your abs. All right, finally, and then we can put this all together. Finally, and probably the most important exercise you can do, guys, is exercise to strengthen your heart and your lungs. They're called cardiovascular exercises. Very simple. See how you're sweating already? The heart rate is up. That's what we want. A stronger heart can keep you alive. If there's a blockage, if there's anything going on there, a strong heart can keep pumping blood until help comes, guys. A weak heart can't do that. You know, if you have a weak heart, you walk up a flight of stairs and you're out of breath totally, or you do some movement around the house or the yard and you're totally fatigued, guys, that's a weak heart. All right, you need to keep your heart strong. The stronger your heart is, the less work it has to do. And that's why the lower your resting heart rate is, the better. But that's another thing. So how do we strengthen the heart? Your heart is a muscle like every other muscle. But instead of lifting things, you strengthen it by getting the heart rate up, by movement. That strengthens your heart. All right, so you can do a couple of things. I'll show you 3 quick things you do in the privacy of your own home, in your office, wherever it is. One is a simple jump rope. You don't even have to jump. This is what a jump rope looks like. You can do this. Just use your hands, get the feet going like that, right? Jump rope. Other one is you could power walk in place, drive those elbows and knees like you're going fast. You don't have to run, so I don't have a bad knees excuse, guys. We have quite a few people with knee issues, and they come in there, they get fit, and they work out, and they're doing fine. Or you could jog in place, right? Or you could do a variation of jumping jacks. If you can jump, fine, this. If not, this is what you do. Step it over. All right, hands going, same pace. Effective. Incredibly effective. All right, now you're ready. All right, we're going to do a 4-minute workout. Let's go down to space. Get ready to work. All right, listen up, listen up. Alright, listen up. Listen, guys, you have to pay attention. Guys, this is a 4-minute format, right? If you can't find 4 minutes in your day, you are entirely too busy. You have to change something. Anyone tells me they can't find 4 minutes, something is wrong. You need to check yourself, all right? That's crazy. You have to be able to find at least 4 minutes. All right, so this is a format called a Tabata, T-A-B-A-T-A format. We do it in our classes all the time. We're going to put 4 exercises together, guys, for 4 minutes. You're going to do each exercise, listen, only for 20 seconds. You're going to rest for 10 seconds. Upper body exercise for 20 seconds, rest 10 seconds. We're going to do a lower body for 20 seconds, rest, a core, rest, cardio rest. We do it twice. All right, 4 minutes. I want you to see how you're going to feel after it. So work as hard as you can. Sorry? Can't hear you. No, it's quite okay. It's quite okay. All right, so do what you got. So we're going to start with the upper body exercise. Listen up. So we're going to start with the shoulder presses first. Listen, the good thing with Tabata is there's music that tells you when to start and when to stop. All right, so listen to the cue. And so we're going to start. Listen, yeah, open your door. So we're going to start with shoulder presses, guys. Wait a minute, I'm just showing you. All right, then we're going to go to the core. Pull those hands down, bring the knees up. Then we're going to go to squats. Then we're going to go to a nice little jog in place or walk in place. All right? And then we'll come back and do a second set. Listen, I have rocky music, so you got to work hard. All right, listen up. Be ready, rock. I was just saying that. Here we go. Ready?
Here we go in 5, 4,
3, 2, 1, go. Here we go. Up and down. Go. Just like that. All the way up. Push them up, push them up, push them up. Good. Only 20 seconds. Keep going, keep going. 3, 2, 1. Good. Okay, rest. Good. Get ready now to work those abs. So either you're going to do this or pull them down. Bring the hand up. Here we go. 3, 2, 1, go. Here we go. Good. Either one. Good. Working those abs. Come on, y'all. Just like that. Good. So you're either doing that or you're doing this. Keep going. Keep going. Just like that. Just like that. Keep moving. Keep moving. 3, 2, 1. Good. Okay, rest. Get ready for lower body. Squats. Squats. It looks like this. Use your chair if you want to. Squats. 3, 2, 1, go. Here we go. Good. Awesome. Sit down, stand up. Good. That's fine. That's fine. There we go. Good. Keep that back straight. Keep going.
Yes, sir.
Like that. Good. Rest. Okay, we're going into our cardio now. Just want you to jog in place or run in place. You can't run, power walk. Be ready to move. 3, 2, 1, go. Here we go. Come on, y'all. That's it. Keep your head up, keep your chest up.
That's right.
There you go, there you go. Come on. Stay there, just like that. You can walk if you can't run, that's fine. 3, 2, 1. All right, you've been waking up for 2 minutes. All right, let's go. Put the hands together. Here we go, here we go. Go, press together. 3, 2, 1. Push them minute. Go. Hard as you can, hard as you can. There we go. We're in minute number 3. Push. Come on, this is upper body strength. Just like that. Push them in. Let's go. No knees or press. 3, 2, 1. Good. Now you're getting abs again. So if you did this before, now you're going to do this, okay? If you did that before, you're going to pull it down. Work at the abs. 3, 2, 1, go. Either one. Come on. That's it. Good. You're hitting those abs, guys. Up to the elbow. Up to the knee. Come on. Perfect. Just like that. 3, 2, 1. Good. A little more. We're almost done. Calf raises. I want you to do them up as fast as you can. You ready? 3, 2, 1. Go. Here we go. Come on. Stretch them out. That's it. Stretch them out. Come on. Strengthening your calves. Good. Just like that. Perfect. 4, 3, 2, 1. Alright, finish it up. We're gonna do a fast shuffle. It looks like this. Fast hands, fast feet. You ready? Wait on the music. 3, 2, 1. Go. Come on, y'all. Let's go. Get focused. Come on. That's it. That was 4 minutes. 4 single minutes. You worked every major muscle group. Some of you are exhausted, need CPR. It tells you need to do some work. That's a 4. Right. I'm drinking all kind of water and everything. That's fine. But that's it. And you can interchange any 4 exercises, guys. In 4 minutes, you can get your heart rate up. You do that once a day. Right? What will happen? You start feeling better. You maybe do 2 sets, so you do 8 minutes a day. You don't have time. You have to make the time. Okay. Second important thing, quickly, nutrition. Because again, you could exercise all you want, guys, but if you're eating poorly, but not that you're negating it, because there's never a downside to exercise. All right? Because you're either strengthening your bones, you're strengthening your heart, you're toning your muscles. There's never a downside, but it's so much better if you complement that with eating better. The problem we have, another statistic, another distinction we own, guys, is that the Bahamas also has the highest concentration of fast food restaurants on a per capita basis in the region. And I think number 3 or 4 in the world. Think about that. Think about that, right? How crazy it is. The highest concentration based on our population, the highest concentration of fast food restaurants in the region. We're eating too much processed foods, too much junk. That's the problem. And I'll tell you something about 20 years ago, 15 years ago, I remember attending a conference, and there's oncologists, doctors who specialize in cancer. They started to notice this trend of breast cancer in the Bahamas in women. And the trend hasn't abated. It's still going on, unfortunately. And they say there's no scientific proof. They don't have any, there's no scientific evidence to back up what they claim or what they propose. But they say they have found that there seems to be a correlation between the countries with the highest amounts of fast food places and the incidences of cancer. Go figure. They mentioned one restaurant in particular, do plenty fried chicken, but anyhow, right? And again, think about what you're eating. The antibiotics, the overly processed foods. So that's just something to think about. So we have to stop eating out as much as we do, guys. The average Bahamian probably eats out 3 times a week during the work week, out of the 5 days, right? And some people go every day. I remember a place I used to work, people used to come and budget and have money every day to buy out. Okay? Now, fortunately, nowadays you have more options. Most of the eating places give you a little bit more options, right? But nothing is better than homemade. And then two, if you're gonna eat out, guys, you have to pick the better options, right? So that's what's key. So here's what I suggest to all of our clients whenever they join our program. And it says, you know, because I don't expect you to do make a big change immediately. But this is something you can do on your own. I want you to allocate 1 day a week, folks. 1 day a week where you eat clean. All right, what does that mean? That means drink water, you drink green tea. If you have coffee, that's fine. Just watch the sugar, 1 or 2 cups of coffee. And you eat vegetables, fruits, lean meats. All right, and you don't even have to eat the meat, because a lot of people are weaning off of meats, and that's fine. But you know, you get some protein benefits from the meat as well, but you can get it from beans as well. But I want you to allocate, it could be a Wednesday, it could be a Monday to start your week, I don't care. Vegetables, fruit, lean meats, water, green tea. That's it, do it for 1 day. Just doing that, guys, gives your body a huge break from the processed foods that you don't normally eat. Don't eat anything packaged. Right? And I know some of you here cook. You can do so many great meals with vegetables, guys. And then have a fruit as a snack. Right? And then put in a piece of chicken there, a piece of turkey, fish, of course. Right? Do that 1 day a week. Okay? And then what we do, so we give them a meal, give our people a meal plan with that in there 1 day a week. And then you'll notice the difference in that 1 week. And coincidentally, you'll drop a few pounds just by virtue of doing that. Do it 3 or 4 weeks. Right? And then try to do it 2 days a week. So you maybe do it on a Monday and then a Friday, or Monday and a Wednesday. So that doesn't mean you just eat what you want throughout the week. But what you'll find that you're becoming much more conscious of what you're eating. You won't want to eat as poorly, guys. And a simple step is that is eating once or twice a week, eating clean, and call it a clean day. Your body will benefit so much. So much. Weight loss becomes easier, and your body benefits so much from it, right? That's a simple thing to do. So, you're going to start exercising. You can pick 4 minutes a day, do anything. Anybody needs any information, you can always go into our website, outdoorfitnessmoms.com, or talk to any of our members or whatever. I didn't bring any cards because I was then late and then mad. Right? But you can find us on our website, outdoorfitnessmoms.com, and I can send you information on our program, what we do. We're all over the place. We have 8 outdoor locations. We do mornings, we do evenings. Convenient. But besides that, I want you to take it upon yourself to first of all decide that you have to do better. You will do better. Don't tell me you don't have time. Because again, whenever you think, I want you to think that, oh, I don't have 4 minutes. I need to be able to at least 4 minutes, right? And then you also need to change how you're eating, guys. Most of you are probably the principal buyers of food in your house. Some of you are, some aren't. You determine what your kids eat. You determine what your family eat. And I understand the issue with you wanting to eat well and that they still want to eat junk. Right? But they will see what you're doing and they will take part. Trust me. I have quite a few women who bring the kids out to our workouts as well, and because when my clients started eating better, the kids obviously wanted the same food, but over time, guess what? Mommy, can I have some of that? Mommy, can I have some of that soup? All right, so it develops into a lifestyle. That's how we change this situation, guys. 75%, about 75% of Bahamians are overweight or obese. All right, next time I talk to y'all, and I know I ever will, the next time I talk to y'all, I want to see healthier people, healthier Bahamians. Thank you very much. Any questions, any comments? Okay, before I go, you have time? Any questions, anybody? Yes, ma'am. Hello.
Hi.
Bodie.
You know why I said hello?
Uh-huh.
Because I cook with much leaner.
Anyhow, yeah.
I'm coming back though.
No
I'm
problem.
much healthier.
No problem.
But my kids always say to me, "Boy, when your legs are small, you do." Because sometimes I do what you've taught me at home in the morning.
Right.
And so I don't need to lose any more of my legs.
Yeah.
This I have to lose now. What do I do?
Well, a couple of things. 2 things. Your body is not selective.
Oh.
Simple. If that was the case, everybody would have small stomach and big legs and big hips.
Yeah.
Right? But that's what everybody wants. Your body is not selective. First thing you always need to do, though, is you have to minimize the fat, guys. See, and here's the problem. The fact that just genetically your legs may be smaller than your upper body, that's a lot of weight you're carrying up here, so you have to, as you lose weight, guys, then you do something that women have been afraid to do for many years. What's that? Weight training. Makes a huge difference. All right, you build lean muscle, you build muscle mass. Not huge, no. but the more muscle mass you build, guys. So if you have a lot of fat here, legs are small, work on your legs. Squats, the same things we did. Get some light weights, 5-pound weights, 10-pound weights, whatever. Women have this fear of that they will bulk. That's nonsense. The only way you'll bulk and get bulky, guys, if you're taking something additionally, right? Some supplements or something else, and you're lifting 50-pound weights. It doesn't happen. Do your own research. Everything goes to that. So in your case, you need to just build up your legs. You'll have some more muscle mass. As you lean out up top, your body becomes a little more proportionate. But you cannot lose fat in just any one place. It doesn't work like that. Some people have a disposition to have fat in the hips here or the thighs or wherever. So it's different. But the key thing is to try to get as lean as you can. Not skinny. Skinny. No, skinny. No. I don't want you skinny. Right? You don't look good skinny, and that's not very healthy either. Listen, some of the skinniest people in my program are very unhealthy when they first came. People say, well, what you there for? And then we do one thing for a 4-minute workout like that, and they're dead. So listen, fit is the thing, and fit is relative. What's fit for you is not fit for somebody else. Okay, but the principles are all the same. Eat as clean as you can, get rid of the processed stuff, and stay active. Try to get in, work at least 3, 4, 5 times a week. 3 times a week for starters, then you build on that. That's what you need to do. So yeah, you need to do some lower body work. Right? Get some dumbbells or some water balls, do some squats in the meantime. Do it when commercials on. Right? Do it when the power go off. You do plenty squats. A whole lot of story. Anybody else? Any other questions?
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
You talked of strengthening the heart.
Yes.
You said it's by raising up the heart.
Yes.
Is that all that there is to it, or the amount of time you...
Well, here's the thing. I don't know if y'all could hear it, guys. An interesting question. He wanted to know if strengthening the heart, I mentioned about bringing up the heart rate, if that's all there is to strengthen the heart. And pretty much that's what it is. You have to stress the heart. But here's what's interesting. One time ago, we used to think you only could do that by running a marathon or running 2 miles. No. The new research shows that short, intense bursts are as effective as running for a mile or 2. Right? So you do something what they call HIIT, high intensity interval training, where you just pick up the pace. And here's a simple way. Even if you don't have to be very athletic, guys. If you just say you go walking, all right? Here's what you do. Simple format. 30 seconds, you walk at this moderate pace. All right? Just keep in your mind and check your watch. After 30 seconds, pick it up. Do that for 30 seconds. Go back to the moderate pace. Pick it up. Go back. That's interval training. Do that 4 or 5 sets of that, guys. Heart rate is elevated. You do it every day, every other day. Fantastic. Right? Same thing with a run. You go in slow pace, faster pace. Slow pace, faster pace. So you just manipulate your intensity, and they found that is equally as effective as running 2, 3, 4 miles. Yes, ma'am.
Is there such a thing as overexertion?
Of course.
I walk up, well, let me put it like this. I had a company that I needed to go to. I had to go up a lot of flight of stairs.
Right.
By the time I reached the flight, I tell you, the stairs, I could barely catch my breath.
Right.
So I'm really out of shape.
Yeah.
So the lady's like, oh my God, you just overexerted yourself. She could have tell by the way, she's the fitness trainer like
yeah.
you.
Mm-hmm.
She could have tell by the way I was breathing.
Breathing, yeah.
I had to literally try and catch myself.
Yeah.
It was that intense.
So absolutely, but it all depends on your fitness level. Somebody else who may have been fit could run those stairs twice without breathing hard, right? So you have to know what you're able to do. You have to know your fitness, and listen, and you'll find out quickly what your fitness level is.
You know
Try
what?
going up the stairs.
Immigration.
Yeah. So you can absolutely overexert yourself, but that's actually it commensurates with your fitness level, no question. So whenever you're starting a program, guys, don't start up doing too much, too fast. Take your time, build up your endurance. Absolutely, precisely. That's why I recommend a 4-minute point to start off. Do that once or 1 or 2 weeks, guys. Then you'll want to do it for 8 minutes, and your fitness improves. It's amazing how your body will adapt and adjust. Your body wants to be fit. Okay, it's you who lazy.
You said something about the heartbeat.
The heartbeat, yeah. If you're resting heart rate, and I would also suggest, guys, if you plan on being fit, and you should, I would suggest you invest in a Fitbit is a brand.
Yeah.
Any of the fitness watches, right? Yeah, fitness tracker, right? so you can track your heart rate. Here's the important thing. Sorry?
Most smartphones have
Absolutely, absolutely. So invest in a smartphone, guys, or a tracker, or even if you,
Samsung have fitness trackers,
yeah.
all of them.
But here's the thing, here's how it works. The lower your resting heart rate, so when you're at home, you turn it on or whatever, get your heart rate. The lower your resting heart rate, that generally means the more fit you are, the stronger your heart is. Think about it for a second. And generally the average person's heart rate is between 60 and 100. The more unfit you are, you're gonna be in that higher end. So if you check it, it's like 85, 95, you're still within the normal range, but you're in the high normal. The lower it is, if you're in the 60s, lower 70s, 50s, that means your heart isn't beating as fast. The faster your heart is beating means it's working hard. And the goal is not to get your heart to have your heart working hard, particularly if you're resting. If you're just moving around the house and your heart rate is 85, 95, that tells me you're straining your heart. There's a problem about to happen at some point. So the lower it is, right? So check it in the mornings or whatever, and then check it at nighttime when you're resting, when you're not doing anything. See what your heart rate is, guys. If you're in the 60 to 100, you're generally okay. But the lower end, the lower you are, the more healthy you are, and you need to try to keep it there.
That was my question. Yes. I track my own. I started exercising regularly from January. But my rest rate is always around 64. But my sister is in the 50s, and she always tells me, your heart's working hard.
Yeah, but no, 60s is good, but the lower the better. So no, it takes time, but you're conditioning your heart. The fact that you're in 60-something is very good, right? But the lower the better. So no problem. She may just be a little more fit than you, and everything. So yeah, that's why that is. Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure. Again, apologies for being late. Have a good rest. Oh, quickly, location. Someone asked. I gotta say. Let me see if I can remember. Quality Home Center in the mornings. Shirley Street, the old Shirley Street Theater parking lot. We do them all outdoors in shaded areas, guys. We are at Blake Road. We're west, we're east. It's just going online or something, you know.
And the east.
And the east, we have Prince Charles, the Winton Super Value Shopping Center, Monday, Wednesday, Friday mornings. We do 5 a.m., so we're done 5:45. No excuses. All right, and then so we're east, west, we're central. We have 8 different locations. Thanks again.
Thank you, Mr. Walking. I'm sure we're gonna have 4 minutes already for the day.
Yeah.
So,
do it again tomorrow.
regardless of you being late, we would like to thank you, and I'm
My
sure
pleasure.
we do appreciate you coming here.
Thank you. My pleasure. Good.
Okay, let's take out a moment just to say another special thank you to our sponsors again, Commonwealth Bank, Family Guardian Insurance, Central Bank, Sunshine Insurance, as well as NTA. They all have done a lot for us to be here, so this brings our session to a close for today. We have another wonderful session tomorrow, so we will see you all back here again at 9 a.m. tomorrow.